Chapter 19. The creation pool contained the Tao of creation. It was a superior grade merit spiritual treasure with 33 innate divine seals. At the same time, it was also a rare heritage treasure. What was a heritage treasure? For example, the Dragon Gate and the Dragon Transformation Pool of the Dragon race. Although they were not very powerful, they could suppress the dragon race's providence and purify the bloodline of all living beings. The creation pool was such a treasure. It did not have any power, but it could suppress providence and produce creation's spiritual liquid. Consuming it could improve one's aptitude and comprehension. It could also help one comprehend the Tao. Moreover, the creation pool had fused with the Tao rune and inherited its providence. In the future, if the Tao rune flourished, the creation pool would improve as well. It would evolve more innate divine seals and become a supreme grade innate merit spiritual treasure. The creation pool released the seals on its own. Feng Zichen did not take long to refine the 33 innate divine seals and gain control of the creation pool. At this time, Feng Zichen finally had the time to look at the creation pool. The creation pool was not big. It was only 30 feet wide. Various colors flowed on its surface, and there were strands of creation qi hanging down. As he walked closer, the creation pool was not square like Feng Zichen had imagined. Instead, it was pentagonal. On each side, a divine beast's head stretched out and spat out the creation's spiritual liquid. The divine beasts were the 5 elements divine beasts. They were the azure dragon, white tiger, vermilion bird, black tortoise, and qilin. They corresponded to the 5 elements of heaven and earth. In the pool, the creation's spiritual liquid emitted a white light. Waves of fragrance entered Feng Zichen's nose. He felt energized and was about to enter a state of enlightenment. Feng Zichen took out a drop of the creation's spiritual liquid and consumed it. Instantly, the power of creation spread in his body, cleansing his body and strengthening his origin. Feeling the powerful effects of the creation's spiritual liquid, Feng Zichen smiled. He did not continue exploring Zichen's grotto heaven and turned to leave. Originally, he planned to strengthen Ziwei Peak and pass down his legacy. Who knew that Ziwei Peak would gain the help of the Kane essence and have the momentum to become a grotto heaven? Such an opportunity was hard to come by. Feng Zichen could only put aside his plan and focus on upgrading his grotto heaven. It took him more than 10 years to successfully open the grotto heaven. Although he was delayed for more than 10 years, Feng Zichen's harvest was undoubtedly huge. The opening of the grotto heaven directly solved the problem of postnatal living beings not being able to absorb pre-celestial qi, and also gave him the foundation to establish his own orthodoxy. The blessed enclave was created by the heaven and earth, and was born with the ability to gather fortune. This was also the reason why the great divines liked to set up dojos in the blessed enclave. The Daluo had formed their own Tao domain. If it wasn't for luck, why would they spend so much effort to build a dojo? Zichen's paradise was an upper-grade paradise in the untainted land. It was second only to the Taoist field of the top untainted land great mediums. Establishing an orthodoxy here would allow one to receive the blessings from Zichen's grotto heaven, which would greatly benefit the development of the orthodoxy. The Khanate creation pool was a superior grade Khanate merit numinous treasure. After Feng Zichen established his orthodoxy, he used it to stabilize his fate. Tao runes carried the great Tao of heaven and earth and released the Khanate divine runes. Feng Zichen could use this to explain the heavenly 36 transformations and transform the Khanate divine runes into Tao runes for the human race to cultivate. 12 years of Tao enlightenment not only allowed Feng Zichen to create Tao runes, but also allowed him to comprehend several cultivation techniques. It was to the extent that, after passing down his orthodoxy, only the stellar Tao scripture could be cultivated in the sect. In this way, the sect, the inheritance treasures, and the cultivation techniques were all present. it was the best time for him to pass down his orthodoxy. At the foot of Ziwei Mountain, Feng Zichin carved a stone into a platform and gathered all the postnatal humans in the human race's territory to pass down the celestial demon lineage. Celestial demon, the will of the innate celestial demon. Naming his orthodoxy celestial demon represented his determination to go against the connate heaven step by step and finally transform into an innate celestial demon. Because of Feng Zichin's identity as a postnatal living being, he was suppressed by the heaven and earth. Therefore, the path of cultivation he established was the path of transforming into an innate celestial demon. Sitting cross-legged on the stone platform, Feng Zichin taught everyone the 9 breaths qi absorption technique. This was the breathing technique he comprehended from the 9 breaths qi absorption technique of the heavenly 36 transformations. It was the most suitable breathing technique for the human race. Below, as Feng Zichin spoke, an inexplicable Taoist rhythm descended and enveloped everyone, helping them to comprehend the 9 breaths qi absorption technique and adjust their breathing rhythm. This was the first time the celestial demon orthodoxy was taught, and this was also the only time the heavenly Tao would give them such a benefit. Seeing this, Feng Zichin waved his hand, and the creation pool on Ziwei Mountain trembled, spewing out all the creation's spirit liquid, which turned into a spirit rain that fell on everyone. Everyone who was already immersed in the Tao opened their deity seas one after another with the help of the creation's spirit liquid. For a moment, the sound of mountains collapsing and seas crashing could be heard, and thousands of divine lights shone upon each other. After the deity seas were opened, the next step was to choose one of the 3 major innate bloodlines of the human race and use it as a foundation to transform into the corresponding Tao body. Today, Feng Zichin's knowledge and experience were already different, and he naturally saw the essence of choosing a bloodline. Choosing a bloodline only allowed one to transform into a Tao body to better adapt to the environment of heaven and earth, and it did not necessarily mean that one had to walk the corresponding Tao. It was not like what he thought back then, where there was no turning back once one made a choice. While Feng Zichin was reminiscing about the past, many people had already chosen their bloodlines. On everyone's body, the power of creation surged, stars manifested, Qilins roared, and soaring snakes breathed. Back when Feng Zichin broke through, because he was the founder, he was supported by the power of heaven and earth, which allowed him to evolve the supreme achievements of the 3 Taos. However, these humans did not have such an opportunity. If they were not the first generation of the celestial demon orthodoxy, with the support of Providence and the help of the creation spirit liquid, they would not even be able to evolve the shadows of stars and divine beasts. His successors in the future would not be so lucky. Feng Zichin had overcome all the difficulties of establishing a system, so how could they enjoy the same benefits? After waiting for 3 days, a total of 18,000 people opened their divine sea. Most of them had the creation bloodline, followed by the star bloodline and the earth bloodline. Feng Zichin understood. After all, Empress Niwa was the holy mother of the human race, so naturally, many people yearned for her bloodline. Because of him, the star bloodline was more popular than the earth bloodline, so it was reasonable. After they stabilized their cultivation, Feng Zichin began to talk about the Tao and pass down the 5 elements Tao scripture. The 5 elements Tao scripture could be divided into 5 parts to cultivate, and it could also be combined into 5 parts. The choice was entirely dependent on one's own comprehension. After passing down the Tao scripture, Feng Zichin let them leave. They had just started on the path of Tao, and their lifespans were limited. They should focus on cultivation, and one cultivation technique was enough. After they left, Feng Zichin did not stay idle. He used the minor divine art and deduced the heavenly spirit 36 transformations, trying to translate the 36 transformations with Tao words. The minor divine art was a deduction technique that Feng Zichin comprehended from the movement of the stars. When he used this technique, the star gods in his body would also use this technique, greatly increasing his deduction ability. Chapter 20. On Ziwei Mountain, Feng Zichen spent 300 years deducing the Tiangang 36 transformations every day. However, he only managed to deduce 5 divine powers, the 5 elements' great escape, the earth-moving golden light, the wind and rain summoning, the shadowless standing upright, and the 5 thunders. After that, he gave up on the plan to continue deducing the Tiangang 36 transformations. After all, his realm was too low, resulting in slow progress. It would be a waste of time to continue deducing. If he had the time, it would be better to improve his realm. When his realm was high, the deduction speed would naturally increase. Besides, with the current strength of the human tribe, 5 was enough. Any more would be a disaster and not a blessing. Feng Zichen still understood the principle of treasuring a jade ring becomes a crime. After all, in the untainted land, not every race had great divine powers. Since he stopped deducing the Tiangang 36 transformations, Feng Zichen could also free up his hands to do other things. Just as he was about to deduce a crafting technique, he discovered a mystical power gathering around him. He tried to come into contact with this power. In an instant, a noisy voice sounded in Feng Zichen's heart, making him tremble violently. This is the power of faith. The power of faith, also known as the power of incense and wish, was the foundation of the acquired divine path and the source of its divine power. Sensing the power of faith, various ideas flashed rapidly in Feng Zichen's mind. The acquired divine path only appeared after the investiture of the gods. It was now the age of witches and demons, and the acquired divine path had not yet been born. Since the acquired divine path would appear sooner or later, why not create himself and occupy the position of Tao ancestor? Thinking of this, Feng Zichen immediately made a decision and started deducing the acquired divine path with all his might. At the same time, all the records about the power of faith in his previous life appeared in his mind, helping him to create the acquired divine path. 100 years later, the power of faith around Feng Zichen suddenly began to distort, and finally formed a figure that was exactly the same as Feng Zichen, releasing the pressure of a divine immortal. This was a divine path clone that Feng Zichen had refined using the power of faith. As soon as it was born, it had the cultivation of the celestial stage, which was even higher than his original body. The main purpose of refining the power of faith into a clone was to receive the power of faith and prevent the main body from being contaminated by the power of faith. After all, there had always been a rumor in the later generations that incense was poisonous. They had to guard against it. The appearance of the divine Tao avatar meant that Feng Zichen had already established the post-celestial divine Tao. Immediately, the heavenly Tao sensed it, and boundless merits descended. The essence of the post-celestial Tao was to maintain the order of the heaven and earth, and was favored by the heavenly Tao. It was unlike the celestial Tao created by Feng Zichen, which damaged the heaven and earth to strengthen himself and was hated by the heavenly Tao. So, not only did the heaven Tao not send down heavenly punishment, it even bestowed him a high-grade, natural spirit treasure, the myriad god diagram. It was used by Feng Zichen to suppress the destiny of the post-celestial Tao. Putting away the Pantheon painting, Feng Zichen activated the merit spirit light and injected the Xianhuang merit chi into it. Immediately, the merit spirit light emitted a bright light and produced 6 more post-celestial divine seals, upgrading it to a supreme-grade post-celestial spiritual treasure. At this time, the merit spirit light already had 42 post-celestial divine seals. Even if Daluo Jinxian came, he would have to pay a high price to break through its defense. At this point, although Feng Zichen's realm was low, he had obtained the capital to establish himself in the primordial world. Even if an existence had the ability to kill him, After seeing his merit that was comparable to Daluo Jinxian, they would have to consider whether they could withstand the backlash of the negative karma after killing him. After refining the divine Tao avatar, Feng Zichen used it to oversee the Ziwei mountain and deduce various cultivation techniques. He hid behind the scenes and secretly observed. Decades later, seeing that the avatar was overseeing the Ziwei mountain and did not cause any problems, Feng Zichen left the human race and went to the East Sea. The edge of the human race's territory was the shore of the East Sea. Along the way, with the protection of the barrier set up by Nuwa, Feng Zichen did not encounter any trouble and smoothly arrived at the East Sea. There was no water in the world that was greater than the sea. When the rivers flowed, one did not know when they would stop. When the tail flowed, one did not know when it would stop. Spring and autumn did not change, and one did not know whether there was water or drought. The flow of rivers was immeasurable. Standing on the vast East Sea, Feng Zichen only felt that the East Sea was huge and could not be compared to the world. At this time, more than 500 years had passed since Ao Shua left. There were still more than 1,400 years before the Dragon Gate opened. With that thought in mind, Feng Zichen was not in a hurry to go to the Dragon Palace. He planned to take a look around the East Sea first. Now, the three pure ones had yet to become saints. Taoist Shangqing was still in the Kunlun Mountain and had not moved to the East Sea. The countless immortal islands in the East Sea had yet to be occupied by the immortals of the Jia school. He could try his luck and see if he could find a few connate numinous treasures. Feng Zichen was very confident in his luck. No, he was very confident in his merit. Those with great merit would definitely have great luck. Those with great luck would be favored by heaven and earth. They could turn a disaster into an auspicious one and trigger opportunities from all directions. These were all recognized by the eldritch world. With that thought in mind, Feng Zichen flew towards the depths of the East Sea. However, he had not gone far when a huge tentacle broke through the surface of the sea and whipped towards him with a ferocious aura. Seeing this, Feng Zichen's mind moved. Hundreds of sword lights flew out from his divine aperture and cut the tentacle into pieces. After that, he flicked his finger, and the sea in front of him immediately separated, revealing a ferocious octopus. Its ferocious aura was not weaker than that of a celestial immortal. 5 fingers grabbed at the air. The sword lights in the air gathered in Feng Zichen's hand and formed a purple sword. He gently swung the sword at the octopus. A dazzling sword light flashed, and the octopus was split into 2. This was Zichen's sword. It was made by Feng Zichen by gathering the light of the stars. It was an acquired numinous treasure with 12 divine restrictions. A furnace flew out from his body and sucked in the octopus's corpse, refining it into pure connate chi. This was the heaven and earth furnace, Feng Zichen's innate divine ability. After casually dealing with this ferocious beast, Feng Zichen did not leave. Several more ferocious beasts surrounded him. Fortunately, these ferocious beasts were not at a high level. They were all in the celestial immortal realm. His right hand formed a seal, and a bolt of 10,000 elephant divine thunder was shot out. The sun, moon, stars, mountains, and rivers appeared at the same time, killing a ferocious beast on the spot. In the void, endless starlight fell and formed a huge handprint. Accompanied by the shadows of the 5 emperors, it pressed down on a ferocious beast. "Destroy!" Feng Zichen said softly. The power of heaven and earth appeared and killed a ferocious beast. In the blink of an eye, several more ferocious beasts were killed. However, the ferocious beasts seemed to be endless. After killing one, another immediately took its place. Not far away, a few mystic immortal realm ferocious beasts rushed over. Feng Zichen also forgot that the 4 seas were not peaceful now. When the eye of the sea was violent, the ferocious beasts in the deep sea took the opportunity to destroy the surrounding sea. Although the Dragon Emperor led many Daluo experts of the Dragon clan to suppress the eye of the sea and killed the ferocious beasts. The 4 seas were so big. How many Dragon Clan experts were there? Therefore, the main targets of the experts of the Dragon tribe were the ferocious beasts of the primordial unity, golden immortal realm. 4 ferocious beasts of the heaven immortal realm and Xian immortal realm. They would kill them easily if they ran into them. Therefore, there were many ferocious beasts wandering in the sea. Chapter 21. Even though there was an endless stream of ferocious beasts, Feng Zichen didn't feel annoyed. He hadn't had a good fight since he was born. He hadn't really used his divine abilities before this. Now he could use these ferocious beasts to test the might of his divine abilities and see how strong he was. After killing another ferocious beast with the 10,000 divine lightning, several mystic immortal realm ferocious beasts rushed over. Mystic Tao. The mystic immortal realm was different from the heavenly immortal realm. A mystic immortal's attack already carried the power of the great Tao. This time, Feng Zichen didn't dare to be careless. He hurriedly activated the 3 treasures of the purple mystic to defend himself. Zichen's sword erupted with a resplendent sword light and slashed at a snake-shaped, ferocious beast. Clang! The sound of metal clashing resounded. Zichen's sword slashed at the snake-shaped, ferocious beast, but it didn't even break a single scale. Feng Zichen wasn't surprised. They were 2 realms apart, and Zichen's sword was only a low-grade acquired spirit treasure. It was normal that it couldn't break through the defense of a mystic immortal. It would be a problem if it could. After estimating the defense of a mystic immortal realm ferocious beast, Feng Zichen tossed out the 10,000 divine scepter. The scepter grew with the wind and was already 30,000 meters long when it arrived in front of the ferocious beast. It carried thousands of starlight as it pressed down on the snake-shaped, ferocious beast. With just one strike, the ferocious beast's head cracked and its true spirit shattered. What a treasure! Feng Zichen was secretly delighted when he saw the might of the 10,000 divine scepter. Then the 10,000 divine scepter spun in the air and transformed into a 10,000 divine sword that swung at another ferocious beast. The sword light shot out and manifested all things. Silently, the ferocious beast was split into 2. Then the 10,000 divine scepter transformed again and transformed into a 10,000 divine Tao bell. The Tao bell was 30,000 meters long and was completely purple. Strands of 10,000 divine qi hung down from the bell and evolved into the universe. Clang! The Tao bell shook lightly and let out a long bell sound. The 10,000 divine qi swept out and formed the scene of creation and destruction. The surrounding ferocious beasts were shattered. At this point, all the surrounding beasts had been killed by Feng Zichen. The heaven and earth furnace flew out and collected all the corpses in the sea. Feng Zichen did not linger. He turned into a streak of light and rushed towards the depths of the East Sea. Not long after, a mysterious feeling appeared in his mind. Feng Zichen was overjoyed, thinking that his opportunity had arrived. He hurriedly followed the feeling in his heart. Several years later, in a certain part of the East Sea, Feng Zichen's Tao bell, which was formed from the virtuous virtue spirit light, struggled to advance. From time to time, a divine ability would be unleashed from the void around him, causing the profound yellow spiritual light to shake incessantly. One had to know that the yellow divine light was a supreme grade spirit treasure that could block Daluo Jinxian's attack. The fact that these divine abilities were able to shake the Tao bell was a testament to their power. Feng Zichen followed the feeling in his heart and flew in the East Sea for several years before arriving at a vast sea. As soon as he entered this place, before he could investigate the situation, streams of chaotic qi filled the void. Earth, fire, water, and wind appeared together. Connate Tao patterns intertwined and formed. It was as if the world had been reopened, enveloping Feng Zichen. After that, several divine abilities appeared and attacked Feng Zichen. if not for the fact that the virtuous virtue spirit light automatically appeared at the critical moment and turned into a Tao bell to protect Feng Zichen. He would have been torn to pieces. That was why the scene before him had happened. Withstanding hundreds of attacks, Feng Zichen continued to move forward for hundreds of miles. He felt the world change, and when he came back to his senses, he was no longer on the sea, but on a piece of land. Feeling the earth vein qi under his feet, Feng Zichen was sure that this was not an illusion, but real ground. There were countless immortal islands in the East Sea, but there were only a few immortal islands hidden in the void and protected by connate arrays. Could this be the legendary Three Immortal Island? Three Immortal Island. Legend had it that the immortal island evolved from the chaotic fragments was not inferior to the top grotto heavens in the primordial world. Moreover, there were countless treasures on the island, including several connate spirit treasures. Was he going to strike it rich? At the thought of this, Feng Zichen was overjoyed and couldn't help but look around. However, after looking around, his heart sank even more. On the ground, there were bursts of immortal light, and the connate qi condensed into clouds. All kinds of connate Tao manifested, making it look like an immortal's home. However, these were all appearances. The ground was full of devastation, and wisps of earthly fiend qi surged out from the cracks in the ground, covered by the immortal light. Wherever the immortal light shrouded, there were ruins. From the remnants of the ruins, one could vaguely see the shadow of the immortal land of the past. This place must have been a blessed land of immortals, but it was destroyed for some reason. The connate qi condensed into clouds, which was formed by the death of a large number of connate life forms. The manifestation of the connate Tao was the manifestation of the connate God-fiend Tao transformation. Moreover, from the number of connate Tao, there was definitely more than one connate God-fiend Tao transformation. As he continued to go deeper, Feng Zichen even felt the sorrow coming from the great Tao, which meant that Daluo Jinxian had fallen here. Sure enough, not long after, two Daluo Tao domains appeared in front of him. However, the situation of these two Daluo Tao domains seemed to be a little bad. Back then, Feng Zichen had seen the dark nether Tao domain. The great Tao was like the heavens, and its might was inviolable, making people not dare to look directly at it. However, these two Tao domains were extremely dilapidated, and all kinds of auras spread out in all directions. Even the great Tao could not be condensed. On top of them, there was also the image of the sun formed by the Tao of Sun, constantly bombarding the Tao domains, making them unable to repair themselves. How ruthless! Seeing this scene, Feng Zichen felt a chill in his heart. Daluo Jinxian was immortal and indestructible, but it did not mean that they could not be sealed. It was obvious that these two Daluo Jinxian had fought with their enemies and were defeated, so they were sent to a place of slumber, waiting for the day of their revival. As for their opponents, they had deliberately left their great Taos here, constantly bombarding their precept domains and preventing their great Taos from reuniting. They wanted them to fall into a deep slumber forever, never to return. As he continued forward, the sorrow from the great Tao became even stronger. Rays of pure yang immortal light appeared, and pure yang origin energy filled the air. Dong! Between heaven and earth, a drawn-out bell sounded. The sound seemed to come from ancient times and go to eternity, ringing in Feng Zichen's ears. At that moment, time seemed to have frozen, and the great Tao seemed to have stopped circulating as boundless power descended. The Tao bell formed by the merit spirit light trembled violently, almost collapsing. Feng Zichen looked at the Tao bell in fear, afraid that it would collapse. If even the merit spirit light that could block the Daluo Jinxian's attack could not block this attack, then one could imagine what would happen to him. Fortunately, this attack was only the aftermath of a divine power from the past. After a long period of time, its power was no longer as strong as before. Therefore, although the merit spirit light trembled violently, it still managed to block it. The Donghuang Bell. The moment the bell rang, the name of the Donghuang Bell appeared in Feng Zichen's mind. This power that condensed time and suppressed all Daos must have come from the Donghuang Bell. The East Sea, the fall of the God Fiends, the Tao of Sun, and the Donghuang Bell. With these clues connected, Feng Zichen immediately knew where this place was. Chapter 22. Zifu Prefecture. It was the dojo of the ancient god Donghuang Kang. Donghuang Kang, also known as General Dongmu, was the embodiment of the Tao of Yang, the leader of all male immortals. Zifu Prefecture was where he commanded all the male immortals. Just as Feng Zichen was thinking, a sun rose in the center of Zifu Prefecture. Its light was blazing, and its power was immeasurable, illuminating all corners of the world. Above the sun, Dharma and truth intertwined, evolving the Tao of Yang. This was not a sun. It was clearly the Khanate Yang origin. It was only because its light was too bright that people mistook it for the sun. This was formed by Donghuang Kang's origin after his death. As long as one could refine the Khanate Yang origin, they would be able to transform into a Khanate god-fiend born from the Tao of Yang, and be born with Daluo Jinshin's cultivation. Shaking his head, Feng Zichen threw this unrealistic thought to the back of his mind. Even Zenith, Heaven, Golden Immortals were immortal, let alone a sage-to-be like Donghuang Kang. Such an existence, even if they died, had all kinds of methods to revive. Moreover, even if Feng Zichen had the ability to get the Khanate Yang origin and refine it, it was still uncertain whether he or Donghuang Kang would be the one to wake up in the end. How could such an existence that had lived for billions of years not have a backup plan? If it was easy to refine the Khanate Yang origin, why didn't Donghuang Tai take it away? Instead, he left it here and let it evolve on its own. Wasn't this clearly saying that there was something wrong with the Khanate Yang origin? The Khanate Yang origin rose higher and higher, and just as it was about to rush out of Zifu Prefecture, endless Tao patterns suddenly gathered in the sky, forming a giant golden bell. On the bell, there were the sun, moon, and stars revolving, and the scene of the 1,000 Demon Dynasty. The Donghuang Bell, one of the 3 great heaven-opening treasures, the Bell of Chaos. The Donghuang Bell vibrated gently, and a supreme power descended, suppressing the Khanate Yang origin. The golden light on the Khanate Yang origin became even brighter, as if it was burning, trying its best to resist the suppression of the Donghuang Bell. Unfortunately, the Khanate Yang origin was no match for the Donghuang Bell. After a loud sound, the Khanate Yang origin fell back into the depths of Zifu Prefecture, and a lot of origin chi escaped. At this moment, Feng Zichen discovered that something was amiss. Donghuang Kang's true spirit aura was nowhere to be found in the Supreme Yang origin. This meant that even if Donghuang Kang returned in the future, his strength would be greatly reduced without the origin of Yang. This way, he would not be able to defeat the Donghuang Tai. Not only that, without the true spirit residing in the extreme Yang origin source, there was no guarantee that a new innate god wouldn't be born. By then, Donghuang Kang would return, and a new innate god would be born from the extreme Yang origin source. That would be fun. For the right to explain the Tao of extreme Yang, there would definitely be many disputes between the two. No wonder Donghuang Tai did not take away the origin of extreme Yang. It was not because there was a problem with the origin of extreme Yang. Since I can't stop your resurrection, I'll nurture a natural enemy for you. Even if I can't kill you, I'll annoy you to death. After living with Ao Shui for 100 years, Feng Zichen learned a lot of secrets from her and corrected a lot of common sense. For example, after Daluo Jingxian attained the Tao, it did not mean that his descendants could not attain the Tao. It was just that it was more difficult. Otherwise, how could there be so many Khanate fiend gods of the same class? When a person attained the Tao, their Tao would appear in front of others with their image. For example, The Tao of the five elements would appear in front of others in the form of the five elements' divine beasts. If the later generations wanted to attain the Tao, they would have to defeat the Tao of their predecessors and imprint their image in the Tao. For example, after the ancestral shaman attained the Tao, another image would appear in the Tao of the five elements. Usually, the first person to attain the Tao was the easiest. They would imprint their image in the Tao. The second person would have to defeat the projection imprinted in the Tao to attain the Tao. The third person would have to defeat two projections, and so on. The further one went, the harder it would be. In the school of the Emperor Star, the Hongmeng Tao seal vibrated gently, guiding Feng Zichen to find the origin qi emitted by the extreme yang origin source. Here, the Hongmeng Tao seal did not dare to act recklessly, lest it attract the attention of the Donghuang Bell's projection and be suppressed by it. Feng Zichen raised his merit spirit light and carefully avoided the spatial rifts. He followed the primordial seal's guidance and searched for the innate yang origin qi. Looking at the mess in the Zifu prefecture, Feng Zichen's heart was filled with sorrow. The Zifu prefecture was full of treasures and endless spiritual opportunity. It was known as the first blessed land in EC. The later generations even called the Dantian the Zifu prefecture, which showed its influence. Dong Wanggong was born as an innate god. He was one of the 3,000 mortal guests of the Purple Cloud Palace and one of the few sage-to-be in the Eldritch world. Back then, in the Purple Cloud Palace, the Tao ancestor had personally conferred him as the leader of the male immortals and the Queen Mother as the leader of the female immortals. The Tao ancestor had even given him the dragon-headed cane and the Queen Mother the Western Cloud boundary flag so that they could manage the immortals. With a top-notch background, a top-notch blessed land, a top-notch identity, and a top-notch goddess accompanying him, Dong Wanggong's life could be said to be perfect. However, such a good hand of cards had been destroyed by him. As long as he stayed in until the end of the witch-demon tribulation, he would be able to ascend to the throne of the Celestial Emperor with his identity as the leader of the male immortals. However, he ignored the Queen Mother's obstruction and gathered the immortals of the primordial world to establish the Zifu prefecture in the Zifu prefecture. He was in the limelight for a while. When the Tao ancestor opened the celestial gate, the 3,000 mortal guests could all be called immortals. The title of the leader of the male immortals made Dong Wanggong forget himself. Therefore, he established the Zifu prefecture during the period when the heavenly court was developing vigorously and went against the heavenly court. He thought that with the name of the Tao ancestor, he could suppress all the Khanate god fiends. However, he did not know that this action deeply offended the gods of the heavenly court. After that, things were much simpler. He casually found a reason. Dong Wanggong had lost his virtue. Dong Huang Tai held the Eastern Emperor Bell and attacked the Zifu prefecture when Dong Wanggong gathered the immortals. There was no suspense in the battle. In the era where saints did not appear, Dong Huang Tai, who held the Eastern Emperor Bell, could be said to be invincible. He alone had flattened the Zifu and turned the Zifu prefecture into its current state. Strength. Once again, Feng Zichen understood the importance of strength. Even sage-to-be had the possibility of dying, let alone a weak ant like him. In the Purple Mansion state, Feng Zichen spent 3 years and finally collected all the origin qi of the extreme yang origin scattered everywhere. The Hongmeng Tao seal flickered slightly and absorbed the origin qi that Feng Zichen collected into it. It refined into a ray of yang divine light and passed it to his yang spirit. In an instant, all kinds of insights about the Tao of yang appeared in Feng Zichen's heart. At the same time, an ancient image recorded in the origin of yang appeared in front of his eyes. In the Zifu prefecture, there were bursts of celestial music and thousands of rays of light. Between the continuous palaces, countless immortals came and went. It was very lively. Suddenly, a blurry giant holding a golden bell appeared in the sky above the Zifu prefecture. Without any words, the giant rang the golden bell 12 times in a row. Suddenly, time and space froze. The great Tao fell silent, and the Zifu prefecture was destroyed. Chapter 23. When the bell rang 3 times, the Purple Mansion Prefecture's array was broken. When the bell rang 6 times, all the Khanate life forms perished. When the bell rang 9 times, Daluo Jinxian perished. When the bell rang 12 times, Dong Wangong perished. At this point, the once prosperous Purple Mansion was destroyed by Dong Huang Tai, which also showed the strength of the heavenly courts. As for Dong Wangong, an expert of the Sage-to-be realm, he was powerless against Dong Huang Tai, who held the bell of chaos. The power of the Khanate absolute treasure was deeply imprinted in the hearts of the mighty figures of the primordial world. In the Purple Mansion Prefecture, Feng Zichen used the power of the Hongmeng Dao Seal to recreate the scene of the past from the qi of the origin of Yang. He unconsciously sank into enlightenment. When the Eastern Emperor bell rang in the image, it was as if the Tao of space-time had appeared before him. All kinds of enlightenment about space-time flooded into his mind, helping him to understand the Tao of space-time. The bell rang 12 times consecutively, all of them ringing in Feng Zichen's ears like Tao sounds, making the Tao of space-time clearer and more enlightenment emerged. The Hongmeng Dao seal glowed slightly, recording the 12 bell rings, causing them to ring continuously in Feng Zichen's sea of knowledge. It was as if he was traveling in the river of space-time, and his whole person was immersed in the Tao of space-time. Naturally, several mystiques related to space-time appeared automatically in the Heavenly Dipper 36 transformations, deepening Feng Zichen's understanding of the Tao of space-time. Sun Reversal could see through the heavens, illuminating the Jambo realm and billions of eternal sand worlds. It could show the past, present, and future. Future Reversal could see through the past, present, and future. It could see through heaven's secrets, predict the future, and know the fate of all living beings. It could fly and hide from the world, wandering between heaven and earth. It was free and unhindered, and the ability to appear at will. Standing shadowless. Concealing the body, it is said that the sun and the moon do not have a shadow. Because it is hidden in the void, it does not have a physical body, so can render all attacks ineffective. Diving into the abyss and shrinking the earth could come and go freely in deep water without obstruction. It could shrink the earth veins and exist thousands of miles away. These sacred arts circulated in Feng Zichen's mind. The Tao of space-time was no longer mysterious in front of him. This allowed him to gain a deeper understanding of the Tao of space-time. In the primordial world, 300 years passed in the blink of an eye. On this day, Feng Zichen, who had been comprehending the Tao for many years, suddenly became blurry. It was as if he had been isolated from the world and was residing in the void. In the next moment, his figure vanished silently, and only an afterimage remained on the spot. When he appeared once more, he was already 5,000 kilometers away. 300 years of comprehending the Tao had not only allowed Feng Zichen to have great achievements in the Tao of time and space, but it had also allowed him to completely master these divine abilities. It could be said that his gains were huge. At the center of his brows, a beam of innate yang light shone. This was the innate yang divine light, and it was condensed from the innate yang source energy. It was capable of destroying all techniques and cleansing all yin energy. In the future, if he could find the innate yin origin chi and cultivate the innate yin divine light, he would be able to cultivate the innate yin divine light. As the saying goes, when yin and yang combine, all things are born. Therefore, yin and yang contained all things, and all things were within yin and yang. Wherever the innate yin divine light passed, the universe would repeat itself and all things would return to the void. It was even more powerful than the innate 5 elements divine light. After sorting out his gains, Feng Zichen looked at the innate god fiend's corpse. Innate god fiends were born from the great Tao and were directly nurtured by the great Tao's origin. They were destined to become Daluo. Not only could the great Dao's origin give birth to innate god fiends, but it could also give birth to innate spiritual treasures. It could be said that every innate god fiend could be refined into an innate spiritual treasure. However, innate god fiends were protected by the world, and it was not appropriate to kill them. Furthermore, the top divine abilities of the primordial world were all innate god fiends. Who would dare to risk the world's condemnation and capture innate god fiends to refine innate spiritual treasures? Wouldn't they be afraid of being besieged by innate god fiends? However, just because innate god fiends couldn't be refined into innate spiritual treasures didn't mean that they couldn't be refined into innate spiritual treasures. There were many innate god fiends killed by Donghuang Tai in the Purple Mansion. These innate god fiends were weak and could only be turned into innate spiritual treasures or inferior grade innate spiritual treasures. Donghuang Tai might not be interested in them, but Feng Zichen was. Now that the human race had just been born, any innate spiritual treasure could greatly increase the human race's strength. Feng Zichen didn't believe that there wouldn't be more than a few innate spiritual treasures here. Feng Zichen walked to the innate god fiend's corpse and cast out the Hongmeng Dao seal. Immediately, purple light sprinkled down and enveloped the innate god fiend's corpse. Hongmeng was the beginning of the world and the beginning of all things. The Hongmeng Qi contained the power to give birth to all things, and it could accelerate the speed of innate spiritual treasures. As expected, after the innate god fiend's corpse came into contact with the Hongmeng Qi, a Dao fetus was formed. The innate, indestructible spiritual light flickered in the Dao fetus, a sign that an innate spiritual treasure was being nurtured. After keeping the Dao fetus, Feng Zichen walked to the other innate god fiend's corpse and continued what he was doing. He didn't know how long it would take for the innate spiritual treasure to be born. Feng Zichen planned to place these Dao fetus on the Ziwei Mountain after the Eastern Sea incident was over. With the help of Zichen's secular world's chaos qi, their growth could be accelerated. Perhaps, with the help of the chaos qi, their quality could be improved even further. Just as Feng Zichen continued to collect the innate god fiend's corpses, a crimson figure pounced at him. With a wave of his hand, Feng Zichen struck the crimson figure with the 10,000 divine lightning, knocking it back a few steps. Only then did Feng Zichen get a clear look at it. The monster was humanoid with a huge crimson eye on its face. Its body was shrouded in thick, baleful qi and resentment, faintly emitting a dark red light. Feng Zichen, who was planning to use the innate spiritual treasure, quickly gave up on the idea after seeing the baleful qi and resentment. Baleful qi was the best at suppressing spiritual light. Be it a human or a spiritual treasure, once touched by baleful qi, their strength would drop or even drop in level. He did not want to damage his spiritual treasure because of this. The innate yang divine light swept out from between his eyebrows, triggering the innate yang divine light to destroy the baleful qi monster. This monster was born from the combination of the innate god fiend's resentment and baleful qi after its death. It was naturally afraid of the innate yang divine light. The innate yang divine light was its nemesis. After the monster died, it left a dark red crystal on the ground. With a grab, the dark red crystal flew into Feng Zichen's hand. Sensing the baleful qi contained within, Feng Zichen's heart skipped a beat. If this was thrown out as a hidden weapon, even a golden immortal would suffer a great loss if he was unprepared. In the blink of an eye, several vicious refining methods of Dharma treasures flashed through his mind. However, using baleful qi to refine treasures was a method used by fiendish Dao cultivators. In the primordial world, the immortal Dao was the dominant force. If someone discovered that he used baleful qi to refine treasures, he would be in big trouble. Shaking his head, Feng Zichen put away the baleful qi crystal and continued to search for the innate god fiend's corpses. However, after what happened just now, he was much more careful. Since one monster could appear, there was no guarantee that a second one would not appear. Chapter 24. Dozens of years later, Feng Zichen searched the entire Zifu prefecture and found a total of 15 innate gods' corpses. During this period of time, he killed hundreds of ferocious creatures and collected a lot of ominous qi crystals. After keeping the Dao fetus, Feng Zichen didn't leave the Zifu prefecture. Instead, he wandered around the Zifu prefecture. There were countless celestial islands in the eastern sea, among which the Three Immortal Island was the most prominent. Legend had it that the Three Immortal Island was formed from the fragments of the primal chaos. It contained endless fortunes and was hidden in the eastern sea. Since ancient times, countless innate gods had come to the eastern sea to search for it, but none of them could find it. The Three Immortal Island was protected by an array formation that could block the heavenly secrets and prevent outsiders from spying on it. Those who weren't fated couldn't enter. Feng Zichen didn't know if he was fated or not. However, he knew from the records of the later generations that the Three Immortal Island was near the Zifu prefecture. After casting the Hongmeng Dao seal, Feng Zichen wandered around the Zifu prefecture, trying to sense the location of the Three Immortal Island through the Hongmeng Dao seal. The Hongmeng Qi was the first Qi that was born from nothing. It was the source of the Dao, the beginning of everything. Therefore, no great Dao could escape his perception. Not long after wandering around the Zifu prefecture, the Hongmeng Dao seal burst out a Hongmeng Qi, enveloping Feng Zichen and breaking open a space. In the void, the primal chaos Qi filled the air, and everything was hazy. Here, the innate Dao patterns were densely packed. The heaven and earth were in disorder, and the 5 elements were out of balance. Between the 5 elements, destructive Qi swept out. The Khanate tripartite array, the protective array of the Three Immortal Island. The Hongmeng Dao seal wrapped around Feng Zichen, and it seemed to have merged with the Khanate tripartite array. Destructive Qi passed through his body, but it didn't cause him any harm. It was very miraculous. Feng Zichen saw this. In the school of the Emperor Star, his yang god shone with purple light, and he had a new understanding of the Hongmeng Dao. After some time, the Hongmeng Dao seal shook and brought Feng Zichen out of the Khanate tripartite array and to an island. The Xiantian Qi on the island was very rich, and there were countless exotic flowers and plants. All kinds of spirits were playing around, and they were very happy. Not far away, there was a stone tablet engraved with the words Peng Lai. Is this Peng Lai? Its name is indeed. Standing on the Peng Lai Island, Feng Zichen was filled with emotions. Peng Peng of Dao of the Dao, the island of the Immortal Island, Peng Mountain, it was even mountains, heaven. The Peng Peng Heaven. In the center of the island, there was a spiritual spring that spewed out chaotic qi, which combined with the Khanate qi in the island and nourished all living beings on the island. Feng Zichen flew towards the center of the island. Wherever the chaotic qi gathered, there were either Khanate spiritual treasures or Khanate spiritual roots. Before he got close, Feng Zichen could already smell a refreshing fragrance that refreshed his mind. Khanate spiritual roots. Smelling the fragrance, Feng Zichen was overjoyed. Khanate spiritual treasures were precious, but Khanate spiritual roots were even rarer. Ever since Zichen's heaven was opened, Zhongyi wanted to find a Khanate spiritual root and plant it on Ziwei Mountain to strengthen the origin of Zichen's heaven and strengthen the fate of the human race. However, Khanate spiritual roots were even rarer than Khanate spiritual treasures. Even though Feng Zichen had the memories of the future, he was born too late. Most of the Khanate spiritual roots in his memory were born long ago, and each had their own master. As for the rest, he only knew their names and effects, but he did not know where they were. Now that he was on Peng Lai Island, he was satisfied with just a single Khanate spiritual root. When he reached the center of the island, he saw a chaotic spiritual spring spewing out chaotic qi. On it, white lotus flowers were budding, and the fragrance that Feng Zichen smelled came from them. This is the 12th stage white lotus of purification. In a flash, Feng Zichen rushed to the side of the spiritual spring and looked at the 12th stage white lotus in shock. The white lotus bloomed in the spiritual spring and emitted a refreshing fragrance. It was surrounded by a mysterious aura, and there were even great Tao rules surrounding it. The qi of purity overflowed, making it seem sacred and inviolable. Looking at the white lotus of purification in the spiritual spring, Feng Zichen was very excited. He thought of all kinds of spiritual roots, but he did not expect it to be this treasure. The 12th stage white lotus of purification was a supreme grade, connate spiritual treasure. Its defense was unparalleled, and it could purify all things. It was the nemesis of all evil qi. In the past, when Pangu created the world, the green lotus of creation could not withstand the pressure and shattered in the primordial world. Its lotus leaves turned into the 5 flags of heaven and earth, and 4 lotus seeds fell into the primordial world, turning into the 4 lotus platforms. These 9 spiritual treasures were supreme grade, connate spiritual treasures, and they had the function of suppressing destiny. The 12th stage white lotus of purification was formed by one of the lotus seeds. It was said that when the 4 lotus platforms combined, they could form the 24th stage green lotus of creation. Unfortunately, this was only a thought. Not to mention that the heavenly Tao would not allow the green lotus of creation to reappear. The owners of the other 3 lotus platforms were not people he could provoke. The other 3 lotus platforms were the 12th stage black lotus of destruction, which had disappeared in the primordial world with the fiend ancestor. The 12th stage red lotus of karma fire, which was born in the Blood Sea and was now in the hands of the Blood Sea Lord Minghe. The 12th stage golden lotus of merit, which was given to the 4 sages by the Tao ancestor to suppress the destiny of the Western sect. The 3 of them were stronger than the other. Feng Zichen did not dare to provoke them. He extinguished the unrealistic fantasy in his heart and looked at the 12th stage white lotus of purification in the spirit spring. It was better to have a bird in hand than 10 in the forest. He had to get the spiritual treasure in front of him first. Why was he thinking so much? In the spirit spring, apart from the 12th stage white lotus of purification, there were 3 9th stage white lotuses of purification, which were superior grade connate spiritual treasures, 9 6th stage white lotuses of purification, which were middle grade connate spiritual treasures, and 36 3rd stage white lotuses of purification, which were inferior grade connate spiritual treasures. The white lotus of purification was not only a supreme grade connate spiritual treasure, but also a supreme grade connate spiritual root. The white lotus of purification was formed by its lotus seeds. However, the fruits of the connate spiritual root always had better effects as they grew. Since the white lotus of purification had produced so many connate spiritual treasures, the lotus seeds it produced in the future could only form connate spiritual treasures. This was still the effect of the divine water of chaos. Otherwise, it would be a problem whether the white lotus of purification could produce lotus seeds in the future. That's right, the spirit spring was also a treasure. Its spring water was the legendary divine water of chaos, which contained boundless power of creation. That was why the white lotus could produce so many connate spiritual treasures without damaging its origin power. Moreover, the chaotic primordial qi on the island also permeated from it. After obtaining so many connate spiritual treasures at once, Feng Zichen was so excited that he almost screamed. After a long while, calmness was restored. Stepping into the spirit spring, Feng Zichen walked toward the 12th stage white lotus of purification. He planned to refine the spiritual treasure first before exploring the situation of the other 2 fairy islands. Chapter 25. In the Chaos Spirit Spring, Feng Zichen sat cross-legged. His yang spirit entered the 12th grade white lotus of purification to refine the divine seal. Entering the white lotus of purification, he saw a vast expanse of whiteness, filled with extremely dense divine qi. In the depths of the space, 44 innate divine seals crisscrossed, evolving the great Tao. As expected of a chaos supreme treasure, there are 44 innate divine seals, only 2 away from an innate treasure. Standing in front of the divine seal, Feng Zichen exclaimed. Without hesitation, he mobilized the Hongming Qi and began to try to refine the divine seal in front of him. In an instant, all kinds of insights about the Tao of purification appeared in Feng Zichen's mind, making him fall into a state of enlightenment. 3 years later, Feng Zichen gave up on refining the divine seal. He walked out of the white lotus of purification with a helpless expression and returned to his original body. After all, his strength was too low. In 3 years, he had only refined 4 innate divine seals. When facing the 5th innate divine seal, no matter what he did, he couldn't shake it at all. Therefore, Feng Zichen returned to his original body and planned to improve his cultivation before refining it. After all, the cultivation of an earth immortal was indeed a little low. It was time to advance to the sky immortal realm. After the yang spirit returned to his original body, Feng Zichen no longer suppressed his strength. Gods appeared in his body, and the mighty Hongmeng Qi gushed out, turning into an octagonal, purple star, the Ziwei star. This was the phantom of the Ziwei star that Feng Zichen evolved with the Qi of Hongmeng. In the boundless starry sky, the Ziwei star seemed to sense the existence of the phantom and quietly dropped a wisp of origin Qi into the phantom. With the help of the Ziwei star's origin Qi, the phantom instantly solidified. The Tao of stars and the Tao of Hongmeng alternated, helping Feng Zichen to break through to the sky immortal realm. Cultivation knew no time. 100 years passed in a flash. Feng Zichen, who was in the middle of cultivation, suddenly trembled and turned into a ball of Hongmeng Qi that rushed towards his sun spirit. Above the sun god, innate Tao patterns shone brightly, absorbing all of the nebulous primordial Qi. Moments later, the innate Tao patterns flashed and turned into star gods. They connected with Zhouxing and guided the starlight in the sky to form the meridians and apertures of the Yang god. Compared to the previous star gods, the newly born star gods had even more divine might. Their innate aura was even denser, and the aura of the great Tao permeated the air. With the success of meridians condensation and apertures sculpting, wisps of star origin fell into Feng Zichen's yang spirit. After that, the yang spirit used the origin of the stars as the foundation to derive the internal organs, bones, meridians, flesh, blood, and hair to reconstruct the physical body. At that moment, a beam of spiritual light flew out from Feng Zichen's yang spirit. It shone brightly in the air and gave birth to an innate true spirit that looked exactly like Feng Zichen. His body was reconstructed and his true spirit was born. At this point, Feng Zichen no longer had any Hotian aura. He had completely transformed into a connate life form. A wave of pressure that belonged to a sky immortal was released from his body. It was as if the great Tao was humming. In a trance, Feng Zichen came to a mysterious place. 49 layers of the void appeared above his head. Each layer had countless connate, great Tao manifested within it. Each layer was more mysterious than the last. In the 9th layer of the void, a Tao fruit shone with a mysterious light. Endless Tao appeared from it, attracting Feng Zichen's mind. Xian immortal Tao fruit? Inexplicably, information about the Tao fruit appeared in his heart. When he stepped into the 9th layer of the void and obtained the Tao fruit, he would become a Xian immortal. Above the 9th layer of the void, in the 18th layer of the void, there was a beam of immortal Tao light flashing. It was the golden immortal Tao fruit. In the 27th layer of the void, the radiance of the great Tao shone in all directions. It was the Tai Tao fruit. In the 36th layer of the void, the Tao light was dazzling. It transcended all things and emitted an immortal aura. It was the Daluo Tao fruit. After that, Feng Zichen could no longer see. This is the heavenly Tao void. After Feng Zichen broke through, he was favored by the heavenly Tao and opened up a path for him. Cultivation after Sky Immortal is to confirm one's Tao in the heavenly Tao void. After being enlightened by the heavenly Tao, Feng Zichen understood the path after Sky Immortal. In each layer of the void, he imprinted his own great Tao. After crossing layers of the void, his cultivation level rose layer by layer until he entered the core of the heavenly Tao void and controlled the origin of the heavenly Tao. He would become a saint that was untainted by karma and indestructible. Rumble. In the sky above Pringlai Island, the wind and clouds suddenly changed. A violent gust of wind rose, and pitch-black clouds covered the entire sky. Golden lightning interweaved within, and thunder rumbled incessantly. The 99 heavenly tribulations. Feng Zichen's immortal ascension tribulation had arrived. Without any probing, without giving Feng Zichen a chance to prepare, 81 thunderbolts fell together and blasted towards him. With a curl of his finger, the starlight in the sky fell, forming a green sword light that slashed towards the thunderbolts. The green sword light was like an azure dragon, clear and indistinct. It was neither near nor far, and had endless hidden changes. In just a moment, the heavenly tribulation was shattered and turned into pure Khanate Chi, which was absorbed by Feng Zichen. After becoming a Sky Immortal, Feng Zichen's connection with the Emperor Star had deepened, and his understanding of the Tao of the stars had also deepened. With a thought, he could guide the starlight in the sky and transform it into hundreds of forms, no longer needing to borrow the power of the star god in his body. He pointed at the tribulation clouds in the sky that had yet to disperse, and the tribulation clouds suddenly moved, surging towards Feng Zichen and being refined into his body. Shifting the stars. This was a skill that Feng Zichen spontaneously learned after becoming a Sky Immortal. It could shift all things in the universe and change their positions. Then the rebels could kill their bodies and destroy their origin energy, but they could still live. It could also control the stars, rotate the sun and moon, and even reverse day and night, controlling the order of time. Even the universe could be shifted, let alone a mere immortal ascension tribulation. Extracting a trace of Khanate thunder essence from the tribulation clouds, Feng Zichen merged it into the 10,000 elephant divine lightning, increasing its power. Then he walked towards the 12th grade white lotus of purification. Now that he was a Sky Immortal, he could probably refine many Khanate divine seals. Suddenly, a clear light shone from afar, and the celestial music of the great Tao could be heard. Clear spiritual Qi overflowed, turning the place into a paradise. Such a wonderful scene attracted Feng Zichen's curiosity. Could it be that some treasure was born? After a moment of hesitation, he rushed towards the source of the clear light. Since the white lotus of purification was already in his hands, and the Khanate divine seals could not be refined in a short time, he might as well go and see what it was that caused such a commotion. In the valley, spiritual herbs were everywhere, different from the outside world. This place was filled with rich Khanate spiritual Qi instead of Khanate Qi. Khanate spiritual Qi was the Khanate clear spiritual Qi, which usually only existed in the heaven realm and was hard to find in the eldritch wilderness. As he went deeper, a ball of clear light floated quietly in the depths of the valley. It was covered with talisman scripts of the great Tao, describing the Tao of 9 heavens clear spiritual Qi. The Khanate spiritual Qi in the surroundings was emitted from it. Khanate clear spiritual Qi origin. Why is there such an item here? Seeing this item, Feng Zichen was shocked. He was even more excited than when he saw the 12th grade white lotus of purification. Chapter 26. In the past, in order to prove his Tao, Pangu had established the wilderness. As a result, the primordial chaos had been shattered, giving birth to pure and turbid energies. The pure energies were pure and spirited, slowly rising to form the 9 heavens. The turbid energies were heavy, slowly sinking to form the wilderness. Pangu had established the heavens and perished. 30% of his primordial spirit had fused with the connate pure essence, giving birth to Taoist 3 purities. 12 drops of his essence blood had fused with the connate pure essence, giving birth to the 12 ancestral shamans. As for the rest of the connate pure essence, they had completely fused with the wilderness, becoming the foundation for the creation of the world. Who would have thought that there would be a connate pure essence here? After carefully sizing it up, Feng Zichen discovered that the connate pure essence had not given birth to any sentience. It was just a ball of essence. What a pity! Feng Zichen shook his head. If this ball of connate pure essence had given birth to sentience and taken human form, it would have been one of the more powerful connate fiend gods, if not supreme. Taoist 3 purities had been born from the connate pure essence. However, it was precisely because it hadn't given birth to sentience that Feng Zichen had a chance. Otherwise, where was he going to find such a treasure that was so suitable to refine a clone? As the saying goes, if you don't take what the heavens give you, you'll be punished. Since this ball of connate pure essence hadn't given birth to sentience, he wouldn't hold back. With a wave of his hand, Feng Zichen collected the connate pure essence, then flew towards the chaos spirit springs. The wilderness was currently filled with danger. Not even the most powerful experts could guarantee their own safety. Needless to say, Feng Zichen was at the bottom of the wilderness. If he refined the connate pure essence into a clone, when the clone was born, his true body would be in the light while his clone would be in the dark. Not only would he have an additional connate fiend god as a helper, he would also have a backup plan. This way, even if Feng Zichen were to die one day, this clone would be able to revive him, giving him a chance to start all over again. Feng Zichen had even made arrangements for the future of this clone. As an innate god born from the innate clear chi, was there a better choice than to become a disciple of the 3 pure ones? In tens of thousands of years, the 3 pure ones would become saints. After that, they would open their gates in Mount Kunlun and recruit disciples. Given that this clone was of the same origin as the 3 pure ones, he would definitely succeed in becoming a disciple. By then, this clone would be able to cultivate peacefully under the protection of the saint, and Feng Zichen would have nothing to worry about. He would be able to do whatever he wanted in the untainted land to deal with the upcoming calamity of the humankind. After coming to the chaos spirit spring, Feng Zichen thought for a moment, then placed the innate pure energy on the lotus throne of the white lotus of purification. Since he couldn't refine the white lotus of purification, he might as well give it to his avatar and let it be his lifelong spiritual treasure so that he could protect himself. The avatar was equivalent to another him. There was no difference if the white lotus of purification was in his hands. Moreover, being born with the white lotus of purification could also speed up the birth of his avatar. It was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. After that, Feng Zichen cast out the Hong Meng Dao seal. In an instant, the Hong Meng Qi surged out and shrouded the surrounding 1,000 miles. The 3 immortal islands had the ability to conceal the heavenly secrets. With the cover of the Hong Meng Qi, the heavenly secrets were suddenly blurred and temporarily blocked the heavenly Dao senses. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Feng Zichen used the Hong Meng Dao seal as a knife and slashed at his own true spirit. A purple light flashed, and his true spirit was split into 2. Enduring the pain of his true spirit being torn apart, Feng Zichen waved his hand and sent half of his true spirit into the innate pure energy. Using his own true spirit to refine his avatar, there was no possibility of the avatar betraying him. They were originally one person, so there was no need to talk about betrayal. After the true spirit entered his body, the innate pure energy burst out with a dazzling light. The Tao of the Nine Heavens, clear spirit, was revealed and endless runes surrounded it. Moments later, the light dissipated and the innate pure energy turned into a divine fetus that swallowed the spiritual energy from all directions. Faint runes of the great Tao could be seen circling around it. Sensing Feng Zichen's true spirit aura, the world-cleansing white lotus that had 4 divine seals removed, glowed slightly, and spat out strands of creation chi into the divine fetus. After the divine fetus absorbed the creation chi, it spat out pure innate pure energy and infused it into the world-cleansing white lotus to slowly refine the remaining innate divine seals. Seeing this, Feng Zichen nodded in satisfaction. With the help of the world-cleansing white lotus, the speed of the Avatar's creation would be increased by a lot. After keeping the Hongmeng Dao seal, the Hongmeng Qi in the surroundings immediately disappeared. Without the Hongmeng Qi's concealment, this place appeared in the heavenly Dao's sight again. Sensing the innate God's aura, the heavenly Dao lowered its gaze. Immediately, a supreme aura descended upon this place, suppressing Feng Zichen so much that he almost couldn't breathe. In the innate pure energy, divine fetus, Feng Zichen's true spirit had just merged with the innate pure energy when he felt an incomparably majestic gaze staring at him. This scared him so much that he quickly entered the state of Dao enlightenment and cleared his mind of all distracting thoughts. When his true spirit entered the divine fetus, the Hongmeng Dao seal blocked the heavenly Dao sight. As long as Feng Zichen didn't think about it, even the heavenly Dao wouldn't be able to see through it. It could only conclude that he was a god nurtured by the innate pure energy. As expected, the heavenly Dao looked at him for a moment before retracting its gaze and bestowing all kinds of blessings. Above the 9 heavens, endless innate pure energy crossed the endless space and descended upon the divine fetus. In the void, the laws of heaven and earth appeared and enveloped the divine fetus. Even the heaven and earth's origin energy appeared and fused into the divine fetus. Even the white lotus of purification benefited from it. It bore a lotus seed with an innate, indestructible spirit light flickering within it and emanating an innate pure spirit chi. A green jade that emitted dense, innate pure energy broke through the layers of space and landed in Feng Zichen's hands. The superior grade innate spiritual treasure, the 9 heavens divine seal, contained 34 innate divine seals and was a spiritual treasure bestowed upon him by the heavenly Dao. Since then, this incarnation's identity had been recognized by the heavenly Dao. Even if the saints came, they wouldn't be able to calculate his relationship with Feng Zichen. They would only get the same answer as the heavenly Dao, that he was an innate God nurtured by the innate pure energy. Seeing that the heavenly Dao had bestowed so many benefits upon his incarnation, Feng Zichen compared himself to the heavenly Dao, and his heart was filled with jealousy. The innate God was indeed the Son of heaven and earth. Before he was even born, he was already given a superior grade innate spiritual treasure. What would happen if he was born? As for himself, he was much more miserable. As the first postnatal living being, he was targeted by the heavenly Dao everywhere. Even when he first glimpsed into the cultivation state, he was met with heavenly punishment. If it weren't for his merits, he would have been destroyed by the heavenly punishment. However, since the incarnation was one with him, his belongings were his belongings. With this thought, Feng Zichen's mood instantly improved. After sweeping away all the distracting thoughts, Feng Zichen sat down cross-legged and guided the starlight to restore his true spirit. He couldn't bear to use half of his true spirit all of a sudden. Once he recovered, 300 years had passed. Seeing that the true spirit in his body was even stronger than before, Feng Zichen was in a good mood. He stood up and walked towards the center of Penglai Island. Chapter 27. Only by refining the core could one truly control the Penglai Divine Island. When he was refining the white lotus of cleansing, Feng Zichen had already found the core. The chaos spring was a chaos spiritual object formed from the chaos fragments. It was the source of the chaos spirit spring and the source of the chaos vital energy on the island. It was also the core of the Penglai Divine Island. The reason why the Penglai Divine Island was comparable to the prehistoric grotto heavens was because of this chaos spring. It had been tens of thousands of years since the prehistoric era was created. The remaining chaos vital energy in the heavens and earth had already been converted into Kanate Chi. Only the prehistoric grotto heavens could extract chaos vital energy from the outer realms. The Penglai Divine Island was the only one in the world that had a chaos spring that could produce chaos vital energy. At least that was what Feng Zichen knew. The chaos spring was not a spiritual treasure. He did not need to refine it. He only needed to imprint his true spirit imprint on it to control the island. This was not difficult for Feng Zichen. After imprinting his true spirit imprint on the chaos spring, all sorts of information about the Penglai Divine Island appeared in Feng Zichen's mind. At the same time, two vague auras connected with the Penglai Divine Island and formed a Kanate formation. It was the Kanate tripartite formation that Feng Zichen experienced when he entered the island. It's the Fangzhang Divine Island and the Yingzhou Divine Island. Feng Zichen did not need to search for the source of the aura. He could guess where it came from. They were all formed from the chaos fragments and were all on the East Sea. The three immortal islands were naturally connected, and from the fact that they formed a formation, the three immortal islands were very likely to be one. With the help of the Hong Meng Dao seal, Feng Zichen broke through space and followed one of the auras. Just as he entered space, Feng Zichen felt the world being turned upside down. Then he saw the three elements being formed and the five elements being reversed. Streaks and streaks of destructive energy were released towards him. In the formation, the Hong Meng Dao seal shone slightly. It enveloped Feng Zichen and blocked all attacks. After that, it brought him out of the formation and soared into the sky. When Feng Zichen reappeared, he was in a jujube forest. He couldn't help but take a deep breath. Suddenly, Feng Zichen felt the difference. As he inhaled, his life essence grew by quite a bit. He hurriedly looked around and saw that the jujube trees were so tall that they reached into the clouds, and red dates were hanging from them. From afar, they looked like balls of burning flames. This is the innate red date tree. After a moment of careful observation, Feng Zichen recognized the origin of the tree. The innate red jujube tree was the first jujube tree in the world, and it possessed a middle-grade innate spiritual root. The fruit it bore, the red date, was useless to Xiantian life forms, but to Hotian life forms, it was a supreme treasure. The red jujube's main effect was to prolong one's life, and its effects were divided into 3 grades. There were 3,330 innate red jujube trees here. Among them, 3,000 were low-grade trees that ripened every 600 years. They could extend one's life by 600 years. 300 were mid-grade trees that ripened every 6,000 years. They could extend one's life by 6,000 years. 30 were high-grade trees that ripened every 60,000 years. They could extend one's life by 60,000 years. Furthermore, innate spirit roots were extremely miraculous. Frequent consumption would not cause one to develop resistance to their effects. Xiantian life forms were favored by heaven and earth. They did not have a lifespan limit, so they naturally did not need such things. However, Hotian life forms were different. They were not favored by the heavenly Tao, so their lifespan was limited. A mortal's lifespan was no more than 100 years. Even if one became a celestial immortal, one could only live for 1 yuan. Only when one reached the golden immortal realm could one live forever. Therefore, the red jujube that could prolong one's lifespan was no less than a supreme treasure to Hotian life forms. After all, No matter how precious a supreme treasure was, it was not as precious as one's life. Especially to the current human race, the red jujube was extremely important. The god-fiend lineage had just been established. Everything was still in the midst of exploration, and there were too many problems. On the other hand, humans had short lifespans. If they were careless and took the wrong path, their lives would be delayed. The appearance of the red jujube could prolong the human race's lifespan, giving them more time to create cultivation techniques and divine abilities. They could perfect the god-fiend lineage and strengthen the human race. After all, Feng Zichen alone was not enough to make the human race prosper. Only when the human race had an endless number of experts could they gain a foothold in the wilderness and gradually grow stronger. Feng Zichen relied on his intuition to contact his celestial Tao avatar far away in the human race. He informed him to send people over to collect the red jujube. Unfortunately, there are no teleportation formations in the wilderness in this era. Feng Zichen sighed as he looked at the jujube forest. This place was tens of thousands of miles away from the human race. He did not know how much time it would take to travel back and forth. If there were teleportation formations, it would not be so tiring. In the future, he would definitely research teleportation formations. The wilderness was so huge that even a saint would have to spend a lot of time flying around. It was impossible without teleportation formations. Of course, saints had the authority of heaven and earth. They could go wherever they wanted with just a thought. There was no need for them to fly. As he walked forward, Feng Zichen saw a stone tablet with the words Yingzhou carved on it. This was Yingzhou Island. Similar to Pinglai Island, Yingzhou Island also had a chaos spring. However, it was slightly smaller than the one on Pinglai Island. Beside the chaos spirit spring, a tea tree swayed with the wind. As the leaves trembled, the sound of Tao could be heard. This was the first tea tree in the world. It was a high-grade Khanate spiritual root, Khanate enlightenment tea. In the later generations, its name and effects had been passed down. However, there was no news of its birth. It turned out that this item was hidden in Yingzhou Island. After leaving his mark on the Khanate enlightenment tea, Feng Zichen walked towards the chaos spring. As long as he controlled Yingzhou Island, everything on the island would be his. As Feng Zichen left his true spirit mark on the chaos spring, a passage appeared in front of him. This was the passage to Fengzhang Island. In the later period when Feng Zichen controlled Yingzhou Island, he did not need to take the initiative to find it. It automatically appeared in front of him. The three-deity island is indeed connected. With that thought, Feng Zichen walked into the passage and walked towards Fengzhang Island. He did not know if his luck had run out or if there were no treasures on Fengzhang Island. In short, Feng Zichen walked around Fengzhang Island and did not find anything. It was my fortune to get it, but it was my fate to lose it. Feng Zichen was very open-minded. Even if he did not gain anything on Fengzhang Island, he would not be disappointed. After all, the gains on the other two immortal islands were enough to surprise him. After leaving his true spirit mark on the Chaos Spring, the three-deity island was now under Feng Zichen's control. Rumble. The three-deity island shook violently. Each of them emitted a ray of light that entered Feng Zichen's sea of consciousness. After that, it returned to calm. In his sea of consciousness, the three rays of light intertwined and turned into a formation diagram. It revealed the Tao of three talents. It was the Khanate three talents formation. At the same time, a memory from the ancient chaos appeared in Feng Zichen's mind. In the vast chaos, a blurry giant shadow held a giant axe and hacked at the chaos. This memory was shockingly Pangu splitting open the heavens. Chapter 28. With a swing of the axe, the chaos shattered, giving birth to a clear and turbid chi. After that, earth, fire, water, and wind appeared, forming a world with endless principles intertwined within. Seeing the chaos shattered and endless mysteries were born, Pangu was excited. He continued to swing the axe, breaking the chaos and splitting the heaven and earth. Seeing this, the 3,000 chaos demon gods rushed towards Pangu, trying to stop him from splitting open the sky. Pangu swung his axe to meet them, and a great battle broke out. At this moment, a gray pearl passed by. It was first struck by the axe, and then it endured the attacks of several chaos demon gods. In an instant, the pearl shattered, turning into thousands of flowing lights, scattering into the new world. Among them, 3 flowing lights wrapped around a piece of chaos fragment and landed on the East Sea, turning into 3 islands hidden in the void. It was the 3-deity island. The scene ended there, but Feng Zichen did not wake up. Panga's axe light was like the light of the great Tao, and its trajectory was like the path of Tao. With a swing of the axe, the chaos shattered, the yin and yang appeared, the 3 forces formed, the 4 symbols formed, the 5 elements formed, and the 6 directions formed with just a glance. Endless great Tao appeared in Feng Zichen's eyes, causing him to be completely immersed in Tao enlightenment. However, Pangu's power of splitting open the sky was so great that it was not something that Feng Zichen could withstand. Not long later, he was forced to retreat from the state of Tao enlightenment because he could not withstand the power of the great Tao. So powerful, it's just an image from billions of years ago. Just looking at it for a while more can make me die. How terrifying! After coming back to his senses, Feng Zichen gasped with lingering fear. If the Hong Meng Dao seal had not woken him up, he would have died. However, he did not expect the 3-deity island to be a part of the Chaos Pearl's origin, combined with the Chaos Fragment. No wonder it was so magical. That's right. When Pangu was fighting with the 3,000 Chaos Demons, the pearl that entered by mistake and was smashed into thousands of pieces was the Chaos Treasure, the Chaos Pearl. The Chaos Treasure was born with the Chaos Fate, and its power was immeasurable. As a result, they were feared by the heavenly Tao and shattered one after another when the heavens were opened, transforming into numerous connate spirit treasures. Panga's axe transformed into 3 heaven-splitting cardinal treasures. The Chaos Bell, the Taiji painting, and the Panga banner were all connate cardinal treasures. The 36th grade green lotus of creation transformed into 9 supreme grade connate spirit treasures, the 5 element flags of heaven and earth, the 4th grade lotus platform, and the 24th grade green lotus of creation, a connate cardinal treasure. On the other hand, the primal chaos pearl was undoubtedly the most miserable amongst them. It had accidentally entered the battlefield and was blasted into countless pieces, and it transformed into a few hundred mid and low-grade natural spirit treasures and natural magic treasures. Not even a single high-grade natural spirit treasure had been formed, and it could be said to be miserable to the extreme. The bead-like Dharma treasures of the primordial world were almost all formed from the fragments of the chaos bead. For example, the spirit pearl that Her Highness Niwa had bestowed upon Feng Zichen was formed from a fragment. The pearl was called the innate pearl, an innate magic treasure with 4 innate divine seals. It contained a boundless space filled with innate chi and could store all things. Apart from that, it had no other functions. Feng Zichen despised it for being useless, so he placed it aside. He didn't expect its opportunity to arrive today. After taking control of the 3 immortal island, everything about it appeared in his mind, allowing him to discover a mystical place filled with chaotic energy. It was formed from the core of the chaos bead. Any Dharma treasure formed from the fragments of the chaos bead could fuse with it to form a new chaos bead. This place was within the Fangzhong Island, and the surrounding chaos chi was filled with endless chaos laws, causing the heavenly secrets of this place to be blurry. If not for the fact that the 3 immortal island was under Feng Zichen's control, he wouldn't have noticed this place. He gently threw the connate pearl into it, and the surrounding chaos chi seemed to have found its support and surged into the connate pearl. Innate divine seals were born in its body, and its color gradually turned gray. Seeing this, Feng Zichen's true spirit escaped into the connate pearl, and before the innate divine seals were formed, he imprinted his mark into it to refine this treasure. When he was refining the world-cleansing white lotus, it had already reminded him that if his cultivation level was too low, he wouldn't be able to refine it even if there was a connate spiritual treasure in front of him. Now, the chaos bead had yet to form, and the innate divine seals were still evolving, so it was the best time to refine it. Otherwise, when the chaos bead was born, it would be like the world-cleansing white lotus, and he wouldn't be able to refine it. Wouldn't that be a waste of effort? A huge vortex appeared in the connate pearl, devouring the surrounding innate qi and then spitting out strands of chaos qi. Countless chaos runes danced in it, forming the innate divine seals. Feng Zichen flashed to the center of the chaos runes and imprinted his mark on the innate divine seals that had yet to form. After that, he observed the formation of the innate divine seals and comprehended the truths of the Tao. On this day, a beam of light shot into the sky on Fangzhang Island, and the sound of Tao was endless. A pearl rose into the sky, releasing a myriad of colors and rays of Tao light. A moment later, the phenomenon disappeared, and the pearl turned into a stream of light and landed in Feng Zichen's hand. The chaos bead was a superior grade, connate spiritual treasure with 30 innate divine seals. The chaos bead's level was not high, but it was not out of Feng Zichen's expectations. After all, the chaos bead was severely damaged, and its origin was severely damaged. It was not easy for it to remain a superior grade, connate spiritual treasure. However, the chaos bead was a former chaos treasure after all. It had the indestructible attribute and could repair itself, but it would take a very long time. Apart from that, the chaos bead could also devour the numinous treasures formed from the other fragments to recover its grade. That was also Feng Zichen's plan. If he waited for the chaos bead to repair itself, it would probably not be enough even if the primordial world was destroyed. Moreover, there were many numinous treasures formed from the chaos bead fragments in the East Ocean. It was not difficult to find them with the chaos bead senses. After putting away the chaos bead, Feng Zichen prepared to leave. After calculating the time, the Dragon Gate would open in a few hundred years. It was time to set off for the East Ocean Dragon Palace. During this trip to the Three Immortal Island, not only did he obtain several connate spirit roots, but he also obtained a connate god-fiend avatar. It could be said that he had gained a lot. Feng Zichen was very satisfied. After controlling the Three Immortal Island, the connate Three Talents array was no longer a threat to him. His figure flashed, and when he appeared again, he was already above the vast East Ocean. The Three Immortal Island was too extraordinary. With Feng Zichen's background, he could not keep it even if he controlled it. It was better to leave it for his avatar. In the future, with the protection of a saint, no one would dare to snatch it. Standing above the East Ocean, Feng Zichen was about to determine the direction and rush towards the Dragon Palace when he saw a group of Heaven Immortal Realm ferocious beasts swimming towards him. Seeing this, Feng Zichen smiled. He had just advanced to the Heaven Immortal Realm and was worried about not having anything to practice on. Now that the group of ferocious beasts had arrived, he was indeed lucky. He pointed to the sky, and starlight fell from the sky, forming green, red, white, and black sword beams that slashed towards the group of ferocious beasts. The green sword beam had endless changes. The red sword beam was extremely blazing. The white sword beam was pure and refined, and the black sword beam was unconventional. The 4 sword beams flickered among the ferocious beasts. In just a moment, all the ferocious beasts were killed. With a loud laugh, Feng Zichen put away the ferocious beasts' corpses and rushed towards the Dragon Palace. Chapter 29. Halfway through, the chaos pearl in Feng Zichen's body suddenly became restless, forcing him to stop. Sensing something, he followed the chaos pearl's guidance and arrived at an island. The island looked ordinary, and there was nothing special about it. However, with the help of the chaos pearl, Feng Zichen could clearly feel the pure natural water spiritual qi hidden deep within the island. Stepping onto the island, Feng Zichen walked towards the place where the natural water spiritual qi gathered. After a few steps, the space around him changed. It was as if he had stepped into a world made of water. Endless streams of water swept towards him. Natural spiritual water, formed by natural water spiritual qi, could weaken one's cultivation. Knowing how terrifying this water was, Feng Zichen did not dare to let it get close to him. He quickly activated the Chaos Pearl. The Chaos Pearl flew into the air and shone brightly. It swallowed all the incoming natural spiritual water. At that moment, there was no more natural spiritual water coming towards him. Holding the Chaos Pearl, Feng Zichen circled around the natural spiritual water. He was sure of one thing. He was in a huge formation, the natural water formation. Realizing this, Feng Zichen was not shocked. Instead, he was overjoyed. There must be a natural item hidden in a place protected by a natural spiritual formation. Since this item could be sensed by the Chaos Pearl, it could only be a fragment of a natural spiritual treasure. After circling around for a long time, Feng Zichen realized that he could not break the formation in a short time. Worried that he would miss the opportunity to enter the U-Dragon Gate, he did not hesitate anymore. He activated the Chaos Pearl and slammed it against the formation. Boom! 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 Violent vibrations spread for thousands of miles, attracting the experts of the water tribe who were passing by. They all rushed over to check out the situation. No one was in charge of the natural water formation, so it was no match for the chaos bead operated by Feng Zichen. After several collisions, the formation was broken, and a blue bead flew out and fell into his hand. "Junior, put down the spiritual treasure." Suddenly a voice rang out. At the same time, a giant claw appeared above Feng Zichen's head and clawed at him. Smiling faintly, Feng Zichen used the 5 monarchs technique. In an instant, the 5 qi inside his body soared and materialized into the silhouette of the 5 monarchs. They formed a 5-colored canopy that blocked the giant claw. Then, with a flick of his finger, starlight fell from the sky, forming 4 sword rays that slashed the giant claw into pieces. After the sword light shattered the giant claw, it hovered in the air for a moment before slashing at a figure that suddenly appeared in front of it. "A mere heavenly immortal wants to hurt me? What a joke!" When he saw Feng Zichen's attack, the newcomer laughed with disdain, and then he emanated the pressure of a mysterious immortal that pressed down towards Feng Zichen. He completely disregarded the attacks of the 4 sword rays. Seeing this, Feng Zichen used the upright shadowless spell, and his body turned from solid to illusory. He hid in the void and was immune to all attacks. When the sword light neared the person, it suddenly transformed into the appearance of the 4 symbols, sacred beasts. They formed a 4 symbols formation, trapping the person within and shooting out tens of thousands of sword qi. Damn it, what kind of divine ability is this? The newcomer was trapped in the sword formation. While resisting the sword qi, he tried to break free from the formation. However, the 4 symbols sword formation was supported by the power of the 4 symbols and could not be broken unless one was a golden immortal. No matter what he did, he could not shake the sword formation at all. At this moment, Feng Zichen saw the appearance of the newcomer clearly. He was a middle-aged man in a black robe with a slightly rough face. Coupled with his demonic aura, he gave off a ferocious feeling. That demon was trapped in the formation. Seeing that he could not break the formation, he was furious. He transformed into a black snake that was 10,000 feet long and almost broke the sword formation. After the black snake revealed its true form, its strength increased greatly. When the sword chi hit its body, it made clanging sounds and could no longer cause any damage to it. Roar! With a roar, streaks of black light gushed out from the black snake's body, causing the four symbols sword formation to shake and almost collapse. Seeing this, Feng Zichen raised his hand and two more sword lights condensed. One was as sacred as the heavens and turned into the shape of the Gaochen. The other was as steady as the earth and turned into the shape of the soaring serpent, falling into the four symbols, sword formation. With the help of the two sword lights, the sword formation changed again and evolved into the 6 directions of heaven and earth, forming the hexagonal sword formation. The moment the formation was formed, endless sword chi swept out from the 6 directions of heaven and earth. In just an instant, the black snake screamed. Its physical body was shattered and its true spirit dissipated. It was killed by the sword formation. Then, Feng Zichen used the flying shadow technique and disappeared into the void. He completely disappeared and rushed towards the Dragon Palace. In the void, Feng Zichen took out the Khanate spiritual treasure he obtained from the Khanate water spirit formation. At this moment, he finally had the time to look at the spiritual treasure. The Khanate water spirit pearl was a superior grade Khanate spiritual treasure with 30 Khanate divine seals. It was similar to the chaos bead. In the past, when Pengu opened the sky and evolved earth, fire, water, and wind, when the chaos bead was broken, a few of the fragments were tainted with a trace of the origins of the 4 spirits and formed the 4 spirit pearls. The Khanate water spirit pearl was one of them. It was said that when the 4 spirit pearls were combined, they would form a supreme grade Khanate spiritual treasure, the world bead. Feng Zichen did not know whether it was true or not and did not intend to know. After all, no matter how good the world bead was, it could not compare to the chaos bead. Now, it was more important to restore the chaos bead. Ever since he obtained the Khanate water spirit pearl, the chaos bead had been restless and wanted to devour it. If not for the snake demon's attack, the chaos bead might have finished its upgrade. He threw the Khanate water spirit pearl into the chaos bead. The chaos bead trembled violently and streaks of chaos airflow attacked the Khanate water spirit pearl. The Khanate water spirit pearl shone brightly and Khanate water spirit chi flowed out to block the chaos airflow. Unfortunately, even though they were both superior grade Khanate numinous treasures, the chaos bead was a chaos cardinal treasure and its quality was extremely high. How could the Khanate water spirit pearl compare to it? In just a moment, the Khanate water spirit pearl shattered into runes and fused into the chaos bead, leaving a ball of Khanate water spirit origin floating in midair. After the chaos bead devoured the Khanate water spirit pearl, it burst out with a hazy gray light and created another 3 Khanate divine seals before it gradually quieted down. Seeing that, Feng Zichen's eyes twitched. A superior grade Khanate numinous treasure only gave birth to 3 Khanate divine seals. That was too little. Furthermore, it was harder to upgrade a numinous treasure. How many Khanate numinous treasures would it take to upgrade to a Khanate cardinal treasure? At the thought of this, Feng Zichen felt his scalp tingle. Shaking his head, Feng Zichen put this matter aside. At the end of the day, he was still too weak and was restrained everywhere. If he was strong enough, he could have anything he wanted. Looking at the Khanate water spirit origin, Feng Zichen thought for a moment and took out Zichen's sword, infusing the Khanate water spirit origin into it. Then he channeled the Zhouxing power into Zichen's sword. After that, he cast a spell, and the power of the 5 elements appeared. As the 5 elements circulated, balls of creation fire appeared and burned towards Zichen's sword. A few years later, Zichen's sword burst out with a dazzling sword light that illuminated a radius of 10,000 miles. A murderous aura swept out. After this refinement, the quality of Zichen's sword increased greatly and became a middle-grade connate numinous treasure with 24 connate divine seals. It even shone with connate divine light. This was the sign of going against the connate heavens. Chapter 30. However, it was extremely difficult for a spiritual treasure to go against the connate spirit. It was even more difficult than for a natural spiritual treasure to go against the connate spirit. A ball of connate water spiritual origin only gave Zichen's sword a chance to go against the connate spirit. Who knew how many hardships it would have to go through to become a connate spiritual treasure? In the untainted world, only the connate supreme treasure in Nua's hands, the cauldron of heaven and earth, had the ability to go against the connate spirit. Other than that, no one had ever heard of anyone else who could refine a connate spiritual treasure. This showed how difficult it was to refine a connate spiritual treasure after birth. Even so, Feng Zichen was still very satisfied. With this bit of connate spiritual light, the power of Zichen's sword had increased greatly. It could suppress magic treasures of the same level. So, what was there to be dissatisfied with? It took a lot of time to refine Zichen's sword. Now, it was closer to the opening of the Dragon Gate. Afraid that he would miss the opening of the Dragon Gate, Feng Zichen jumped into the water and used the abyss shrinking technique. The bottomless abyss was like a flat ground, and the distance of 10,000 miles was like a short distance. He shrank the ground into an inch and traveled 10,000 miles in one step. He sped towards the Dragon Palace. A few days later, in the depths of the East Sea, a crystal palace stood in the deep sea. It shone brightly like a big sun, illuminating the surrounding sea area. Another transparent light curtain enveloped the entire crystal palace, isolating it from the outside and preventing the seawater from entering. He took out a white dragon scale and touched the light curtain. After a flash, the light curtain opened up a passage. After Feng Zichen walked in, it closed again. This dragon scale was given to him by Ao Shui. Long before the Water Dragon King, Ao Shui had secretly given him a dragon scale. It was an old scale that she shed when she transformed into a 9-clawed cloud dragon. Although the Water Dragon King had given him a dragon scale, he had lived with Ao Shui for 100 years. He had only met the Water Dragon King once. How could he trouble him? After entering the territory of the Dragon Palace, Feng Zichen touched the dragon scale lightly. An invisible wave spread out, spreading towards the depths of the Dragon Palace. Then he stood there and waited silently. At this moment, he felt a little frustrated. After all, he hadn't seen Ao Shui for almost 2,000 years. He didn't know if Ao Shui still remembered him. While Feng Zichen was worrying about his gains and losses somewhere in the Dragon Palace, Ao Shui was lying on a cloud bed with blank eyes. No one knew what he was thinking. Suddenly, a familiar wave of energy came. Ao Shui was stunned at first, then overjoyed. It turned into a 9-clawed cloud dragon and flew out. "Your Highness, where are you going?" Outside the palace, a gorgeous woman hurriedly asked when she saw Ao Shui rushing out. "My friend is here. I'll go pick him up." Ao Shui identified the location and flew towards Feng Zichen. "Sai, Princess, wait for me." Seeing Ao Shui flying out of the Dragon Palace without looking back, the woman was worried about Ao Shui's safety. She turned into a ray of light and chased after Ao Shui. At the same time, a short elder with a turtle shell on his back followed quietly. The two of them seemed to have merged with the Tao. Their bodies shone with the light of the Tao. They were experts in the Tai Jinxian realm. In the past, Ao Shui received the help of the Nether Dragon Venerate during the war between the three races. His bloodline returned to its ancestral form, and he turned into the form of the ancestral dragon. After returning to the dragon tribe, his status naturally increased. He was second only to Daluo Jinxian. To prevent Ao Shui from suddenly disappearing from the Dragon Palace like last time, the Dragon Tribe specially sent two Tai Jinxian to protect Ao Shui. After revealing his true form, Ao Shui sped up. In a short while, he arrived near Feng Zichen. Zichen, why are you only here now? The Dragon Gate is about to open. I thought you weren't coming. Before Ao Shui arrived, his voice could be heard from afar. There was an accident on the way, and I was delayed. Otherwise, I would have arrived long ago. Feeling Ao Shui's familiar tone and familiarity, Feng Zichen was very happy. He smiled and went up to him. However, just as he arrived beside Ao Shui, Feng Zichen felt two powerful divine senses sweeping towards him. They were trying to spy on him. His merit divine light automatically appeared and blocked the two divine senses, preventing them from spying on him. How dare you? I already said that he is my friend. How dare you do this? Before Feng Zichen could say anything, Ao Shui flew into a rage and scolded the woman and elder who had just appeared. One had to know that spying on someone with one's divine senses was no less than a provocation. It was a very offensive action. The two of them scanned Feng Zichen with their divine senses so brazenly. It was obvious that they did not take him seriously. Naturally, Ao Shui was very angry. Princess, please forgive us. We have crossed the line. The two of them smiled bitterly and bowed to Ao Shui. Then they said to Feng Zichen apologetically, Fellow Taoist, please don't be angry. We have crossed the line. Little did they know that the two of them were complaining in their hearts. They thought that with their Tai Jinxian cultivation, they could spy on a small cultivator in the heavenly immortal stage silently. Who knew that a small heavenly immortal stage cultivator would have so much merit protection? They were exposed immediately. It's fine. Feng Zichen replied expressionlessly. The two of them were Ao Shui's guards. Although he was unhappy with their behavior, he still had to care about Ao Shui's reputation. He could not scold them. You think it's over just because I'm not angry? Get out of here. Go to the Dragon Palace to receive your punishment. Feng Zichen had his scruples, but Ao Shui did not. After punishing the two of them, Ao Shui turned into her human form and led Feng Zichen to the Dragon Palace. Compared to 2,000 years ago, Ao Shui had grown up a lot. She looked like she was 12 or 13 years old. On the way to the Dragon Palace, Ao Shui kept talking to Feng Zichen. It was obvious that she had been bored in the Dragon Palace all these years. Dragon Palace, in front of the Water Dragon Palace. This was the palace of the Water Dragon King. Because he was the son of the Dragon Sovereign, he could have his own palace in the Dragon Palace. Please inform your highness that an old friend has come to visit. Feng Zichen stepped forward and handed the dragon scale that the Water Dragon King had given him to the shrimp soldier guarding the door. Sensing the familiar dragon chi on the dragon scale, the shrimp soldier immediately understood that it was the dragon scale that his highness had shed. He quickly returned the dragon scale to Feng Zichen and warmly invited him into the palace. He did not show any neglect because of his sky immortal cultivation. Exalted God, please wait here for a moment. His highness will be here soon. After bringing Feng Zichen to the front hall, the shrimp soldier retreated. Not long after the shrimp soldier left, a few clam girls walked in with various spiritual fruits in their hands. They placed them in front of Feng Zichen for him to taste. Not long after, the handsome water dragon god walked in wearing a green robe. Zichen clan, long time no see. The moment he saw Feng Zichen, the Water Dragon King was shocked. However, he remained calm on the surface and said with a smile, the Zichen clan of the human race was indeed a person of great fortune. The first time they met, he was still full of acquired chi. Now that they met again, the chi was gone and he had completely turned into a sentient life form. Moreover, his Xiantian spiritual light was dazzling. He was one of the best. Chapter 31. When the Water Dragon King first arrived at the human race, he felt that the human race was not simple. After meeting the 3 leaders of the human race in Fengzichen, he was even more certain of this guess. A mere Hotian race that was born less than 10,000 years ago actually produced 4 people with great merit at the same time. How incredible was this? As long as these 4 people did not do anything that would anger the heavens and the people, with their merit, they had hopes of stepping into the realm of the Daluo Jinxian in the future. The Water Dragon King was not stupid. The 4 people who had the potential of becoming a Daluo, he could not wait to befriend them. How could he easily offend them? Therefore, when he was in the human race, he was very amiable and got along very well with the 3 leaders of the human race. Even Fengzichen, without his guidance, would not have thought of the Dragon Gate. Therefore, he came to the Water Dragon Palace today, specifically to express his thanks. Why did you only arrive now? I thought you were not coming. The 2 exchanged pleasantries for a while, and the Water Dragon King asked doubtfully, I encountered a ferocious beast on the way, so I was delayed for a while. Fengzichen explained, a ferocious beast. Hearing this, the Water Dragon King sighed. It's good that you are fine. These ferocious beasts can't be killed. My dragon race has no choice but to let them wander in the 4 seas. But fortunately, when the eye of the sea returns to calm, these ferocious beasts will return to the abyss. At that time, the 4 seas will be peaceful again. The ferocious beasts were formed by the resentment of the Chaos Demon God. As long as the resentment did not disappear, the ferocious beasts would not disappear. And to eliminate the resentment of the Chaos Demon God, the only way was to destroy the Chaos Demon God. This was a deadlock. Who would choose to destroy the world they relied on for survival for a petty disease? Therefore, the ferocious beasts were put on hold. I obtained this item in the East Sea. It is useless to me, but it is compatible with the Dragon Lord. I will give it to the Dragon Lord. Seeing that the atmosphere was a little gloomy, Fengzichen took out a stream of innate water spirit origin chi and handed it to the Water Dragon King. After the Chaos Bead devoured the connate water spirit pearl, apart from the connate water spirit origin, there was still quite a lot of origin chi left. Although this item was precious, it was useless to Fengzichen. It was better to take some out as a gift. No, this item is too precious. I cannot accept it. Seeing this item, Water Dragon King repeatedly refused. Natural origin energy, also known as natural ancestral energy, contained a trace of the origin energy of the Grand Tao, and it could help one comprehend the Tao. Apart from the creation of heaven and earth, a Daluo Jinxian had to spend 100 years to condense a strand of innate chi of origin. From this, one could see how precious it was. If it wasn't for Dragon Lord, how would I know about the Dragon Gate? Dragon Lord, please do not delay. Water Dragon King walked the path of the great Tao of water, and the innate water spirit chi would be of great help to him. He was not very resolute to begin with, but after Fengzichen repeatedly sent him off, he accepted it with some reluctance. Since that's the case, I'll accept it shamelessly. I will remember your kindness, fellow Taoist. A strand of innate water spirit chi of origin could save Water Dragon King tens of thousands of years of cultivation. A strand of innate water spirit chi of origin could even help him comprehend the great Tao of water. Even the dragon tribe did not have many treasures like this. Fengzichen was greatly indebted to him for giving this item to him. 800 years later, at the Dragon Gate Gorge in the East Sea, countless water tribe creatures gathered here. Not only were there sea creatures, but there were also many water tribe cultivators who came from all over the untainted land, just to leap over the Dragon Gate and transform into a true dragon. Wow, there are so many people here. The last time the Dragon Gate opened, Ao Shui was not born yet. Therefore, this was her first time here, and she was full of curiosity. In the age of witchcraft and demons, the human tribe was not the main character of heaven and earth. The human tribe in this era referred to all living beings of the human Tao and all sentient beings in the untainted land, not the human tribe. Leaping over the Dragon Gate is a grand event for the Water Tribe. Thousands of Water Tribe members gather here, so it's not surprising that there are so many people here. Feng Zichen said. Although he said that, he was still shocked. As far as the eye could see, there were Water Tribe members everywhere. The entire sea area was crowded with all kinds of living beings, and there was no space at all. Even so, there were still more Water Tribe members coming. However, there were many races gathered here, and many of them were natural enemies. No one dared to cause trouble, which showed the power of the Dragon Tribe. In the center of the Dragon Gate Gorge, there were a few palaces for the disciples of the Dragon Tribe to rest. Ao Shui was the granddaughter of the ancestral dragon, and she had her own palace. Feng Zichen was basking in her glory and stayed here with her. When the Dragon Gate opened, only the disciples of the Dragon Tribe would be able to leap over the Dragon Gate, and the first Water Tribe member to leap over the Dragon Gate would be rewarded by the ancestral dragon. Ao Shui brought Feng Zichen here so that he could be rewarded by the ancestral dragon. This place was closest to the Dragon Gate, and leaping over the Dragon Gate here would give him the opportunity to be one step ahead of the others. In addition, with the secret treasure that Ao Shui lent him, he could be the first to leap over the Dragon Gate and receive the reward. Since Feng Zichen stayed here, 3 years had passed in the blink of an eye. On this day, a figure appeared in the sky above the Dragon Gate Gorge. He was handsome and dignified, and he wore a purple robe with blue clouds. Beside him, light gathered and purple clouds surged. The shadow of 9 dragons appeared, showing supreme majesty. This person was the eldest son of the Dragon Emperor, the grandson of the ancestral dragon, and the successor of the Dragon Tribe, Aoi. The Dragon Emperor was suppressing the sea eye and could not leave, so he was responsible for opening the Dragon Gate to raise his hopes. In the early years of the ancient times, the ancestral dragon felt that it was difficult for living beings to become dragons, so he established the Dragon Gate. Anyone who passed through the Dragon Gate, regardless of whether they were from the dragon bloodline, the Water Tribe, or the evil Dragon Tribe, could ascend to the heavens and transform into a true dragon. Since then, the Dragon Gate meet has been held. After introducing the origin of the Dragon Gate, Aoi paused for a moment and changed to the Tao language. Today, the Dragon Gate will be opened again. As his voice fell, endless golden light gathered, forming a dazzling golden Dragon Gate in the Dragon Gate Gorge. As the Dragon Gate appeared, an earth-shattering dragon roar was heard. Then, an extremely rich Khanate wood essence sprinkled from the Dragon Gate into the bodies of the Water Tribe members below. This was the grace of the ancestral dragon. There were countless Water Tribe members, so naturally, not everyone could pass through the Dragon Gate. Therefore, the ancestral dragon gave them the Khanate wood essence in advance to improve their physiques, so that they would not have made a wasted trip. Thank you for your grace, your majesty. After receiving the Khanate wood essence from the ancestral dragon, countless Water Tribe members in the Dragon Gate Gorge knelt down respectfully and kowtowed sincerely. Roar! A dragon roar came from Aoi's mouth. He transformed into a 9-clawed golden dragon and leaped toward the Dragon Gate. Aoi was indeed the descendant of the ancestral dragon. The so-called Dragon Gate test did not seem to exist to him. He leaped over the Dragon Gate and disappeared without a trace. After Aoi leaped over the Dragon Gate, dragon roars could be heard in the Dragon Gate Gorge. Mighty dragon aura swept in all directions, and true dragons flew out one after another. Some were red, some were black, and some were green. They flew toward the Dragon Gate. The leader was a 9-clawed cloud dragon, Ao Shui. Chapter 32. Aoe and Ao Shui were both direct descendants of the ancestral dragon. Their bloodline was already the highest in the dragon race. Even if they leaped through the dragon gate, their bloodline couldn't be improved anymore. However, the opening of the dragon gate was a major event for the dragon clan, and it was related to the future of the dragon clan. Therefore, every time the dragon gate opened, the ancestral dragon would cast his gaze over and pay attention to this place. He wanted to see if there were any outstanding individuals among the younger generation of the water race. At the end of the ancient times, a great war broke out between the three races, causing the four poles of the untainted land to be unbalanced and almost destroyed. In order to atone for their sins, the experts of the three races transformed into the four sacred beasts to suppress the four poles of the world and stabilize the untainted land. From then on, only the great tribulation of heaven and earth could appear. The ancestral dragon was in charge of suppressing the easternmost land. If the descendants of the dragon clan wanted to meet the ancestral dragon, they had to go to this place. However, only Daluo Jinxian could enter the four extremes. How could the descendants of the dragon race have this ability? Therefore, the dragon gate that opened every Yuans became an opportunity for the descendants of the dragon clan to meet the ancestral dragon. Therefore, every time the dragon gate opened, regardless of whether they could improve their bloodline or not, tens of thousands of dragons would gather at the Dragon Gate Gorge to leap through the dragon gate and worship the ancestral dragon. Those of the dragon clan who could come here to worship the ancestral dragon were all outstanding disciples of the clan. How could the dragon gates test be difficult for them? In just a few days, tens of thousands of true dragons leaped over the dragon gate and entered the legendary dragon transformation pool. Seeing the group of dragons leap over the dragon gate, Feng Zichen took advantage of the opportunity. After the last true dragon leaped over the dragon gate, he leaped and rushed towards the dragon gate. Then, countless aquatic creatures in the dragon gate gorge rushed toward the dragon gate. They were like dark clouds that covered the sky. As soon as Feng Zichen rose into the air, he saw a dazzling Milky Way falling from the 9 heavens. It cut through the 9 layers of the void and arrived in front of him. Can I see the dragon gate after passing through the 9 layers of the void? With that in mind, Feng Zichen stepped onto the Milky Way and arrived at the 9th level of the void. As soon as he entered the first layer of the void, he felt a wave of pressure. It was as if he was carrying a mountain on his back, making him unable to move. At the same time, wind, rain, thunder, and lightning appeared in the sky and struck at him. Feng Zichen bellowed. His divine sea surged, his acupuncture points glowed, and his entire body shone brightly. Phantoms of godly spirits walked out and surrounded him, chanting continuously. Vast divine power erupted from his body, removing the pressure around him and extinguishing the power of wind, rain, thunder, and lightning. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Feng Zichen went against the current of the Milky Way, crossed 3 voids in a row, and arrived at the 4th void. Boom! The 4th level of the void was like a thunder region, with countless lightning snakes dancing in the air. As soon as Feng Zichen appeared, dozens of innate lightning bolts blasted towards him. As Feng Zichen was about to summon the 5 monarchs' canopy, the 3 layers of the rift he had just crossed shattered into pieces, turning into streams of chi of creation and creation surging into his body. Seeing this, Feng Zichen let go of his defense and allowed the innate lightning to strike him. The power of lightning destroyed life, and the creation chi gave birth to life. One was destruction, and the other was creation. The 2 forces went back and forth in Feng Zichen's body, giving birth to a mysterious power. Under the effect of this mysterious power, every inch of his flesh was glowing, and countless innate runes were born, and the shadows of the sun, moon, and stars appeared. This was because Feng Zichen's bloodline was improving. It was transforming into a starry great path body, which made his connection with the stars in the sky closer. In the boundless starry sky, Zhou Qi of origin fell into Feng Zichen's body, helping him evolve his bloodline and evolve into the starry Tao body. A few days later, when he felt that the lightning could no longer harm him, Feng Zichen opened his mouth and sucked in all the lightning bolts into his stomach, refining them into pure innate essence. The innate lightning disappeared, and the fourth level of the void shattered, turning into a cloud of qi of creation and creation that entered his body. Then, with the help of Zhou power, Feng Zichen passed through the fifth and sixth level of the void and entered the seventh level of the void. When he arrived at the seventh level of the void, he saw that it was different from the previous levels. The entire world was green, filled with innate Yi-wood essence that transformed into jade trees and jade grass. The 9 levels of the void were not all trials. In the 7th and 8th level of the void, there are fortunes left behind by the ancestral dragon, baptized by wind and clouds, born from lightning. This was the meaning of the first 6 levels of the void, and it was also the path one must go through in order to transform into a dragon. Breaking through 6 levels of the void in a row would definitely wear out or be injured. The ancestral dragon left the innate Yi-wood essence here for him to recuperate and face the final test in the most perfect state. Feng Zichen was not only unharmed, but also gained a lot of benefits along the way. Naturally, he did not need the innate Yi-wood essence and walked straight to the 8th level of the void. The last 3 levels of the void were different from the first 6 levels of the void. They were not formed by the innate qi of creation and were real. They would not be shattered because of Feng Zichen's departure. In the 8th level of the void, there was a giant tree rooted to the sky. Its crown was so big that it covered the entire sky. Endless innate Yi-wood essence fell from its body and scattered in all directions. On the tree, there was a giant azure dragon coiled around it, emitting innate Yi-wood essence qi. This was the supreme grade innate spiritual root, Zhenmu. The azure dragon coiling around it was not a living creature, but a transformation of the innate Yi-wood essence. Any Tai Jingxian who came here would be able to become a Daluo Jingxian immediately after refining it. However, Feng Zichen did not dare to have the slightest intention of peeking at this item. Not to mention that this tree was the ancestral dragon's supreme treasure. He might not be able to walk out of here alive after touching it. This item was a sacred item that suppressed the East Pole. Once something happened to it, the East Pole would lose its balance. Under the monstrous negative karma, even the entire human race would not be able to bear it. However, even if he could not take the tree away, he could take something from it. Everyone who came here proved their excellence and had the potential to become a dragon. This was the reward that the ancestral dragon gave to those who came here. As for what one could get from the Zhenmu, it all depended on one's luck. Some people got leaves, some got spirit fruits, some got branches, and so on. Feng Zichen came to the Zhenmu's side and touched the tree trunk gently. A green spirit fruit appeared in his hand. A spirit fruit? The spirit fruits produced by the Zhenmu had different effects. Some could give one a small divine power, while others could increase one's cultivation level. If one did not eat it, one would never be able to guess its effect. After looking at it for a moment, he could not see its effect. He could only see that the spirit fruit contained a huge amount of power. Without hesitation, Feng Zichen put the spirit fruit into his mouth. Thinking about it, with his luck, the spirit fruit he got must be a top-grade spirit fruit. The spirit fruit melted in his mouth and turned into a warm current in his body that spread to his limbs and bones. Hiss! Wherever the warm current passed, it was as if a knife was cutting, and a tearing pain spread throughout his body. Feng Zichen could not help but gasp. Then, green dragon scales appeared on his skin. His limbs were transforming into dragon claws. His forehead also bulged as if dragon horns were growing out. His tailbone was also trembling violently as if a tail was growing out. This was the dragonification fruit. Chapter 33. The Dragonization Fruit. This was a sacred item that the water tribe yearned for even in their dreams. After eating it, there was no need to leap through the dragon's gate to become a real dragon. Unfortunately, what Feng Zichen wanted was the body of an innate demon, not a real dragon. The dragonization fruit was useless to him. Channeling all his spiritual energy, he suppressed the effects of the dragonization fruit. His body's transformation into a dragon slowed down. However, the dragonization fruit's effects were too strong. After a while, it broke through Feng Zichen's seal and continued to transform his body. Seeing that his spiritual energy was useless, the real spirit in the school of the Emperor Star exploded with a brilliant light. Feng Zichen's body turned into a ball of Hongming Qi, wrapped around his real spirit and spun in the air. The dragonization fruit's power floated in the Hongming Qi, trying to transform the Hongming Qi into the shape of a dragon. Then, the Hongming Qi gave birth to the Iyuan, Ini Sankai, Fingxiang Wuxing Liuha, Qiao Bagua, Jiugong, and Shifeng. As the Hongming Qi evolved, the dragonization fruit's power slowly merged with it. In the end, it completely merged with the Hongming Qi and could no longer cause any waves. Then the Hongming Qi twisted and turned back into Feng Zichen's body. After his body was restored, Feng Zichen suppressed his real spirit and walked towards the 9th level. After consuming the dragonization fruit, his strength increased greatly and he was on the verge of a breakthrough. However, now was not the time for a breakthrough. He could only suppress it for now. When he leaped through the dragon's gate, that would be the best time for a breakthrough. In the 9th level, the vast Milky Way fell from the 9 heavens. With a majestic force, it crushed down on Feng Zichen, trying to knock him down from the sky. At the end of the Milky Way, there was a huge door. It shone with the light of creation and the light of Tao. The Dragon's Gate, the Real Dragon's Gate. Seeing this Dragon's Gate, Feng Zichen was shocked to realize that this was the Real Dragon's Gate. The giant door outside was only a projection. Sensing Milky Way's power, he no longer held back and unleashed his full strength. Boundless radiance burst forth, forming the phantoms of gods around Feng Zichen. Streaks of starlight fell and enveloped him. With the support of Zhouxing, Feng Zichen ignored the space seal and stepped out. He directly crossed the vast Milky Way and arrived in front of the Dragon Gate. Roar! It seemed to come from ancient times, yet it also seemed to come from the future. A lofty and ethereal dragon roar sounded, causing Feng Zichen's mind to tremble. He raised his head and saw a 9-clawed golden dragon, ancestral dragon phantom. The last stage of the Dragon Gate was guarded by the ancestral dragon phantom. Only by blocking the attack of the ancestral dragon's phantom and not being struck down from the void could one leap over the Dragon Gate. Even though the ancestral dragon's silhouette was only at heavenly immortal primary stage, the ancestral dragon was still a saint beast that was comparable to a sage. Even though they were at the same level, their intrinsic qualities were far superior. A strike from a heavenly immortal was not inferior to a strike from a golden immortal. Feng Zichen touched the dragon scale in his arms. He did not use it. This was a secret treasure that Ao Shui lent him. It was made from the dragon scale shed by the ancestral dragon. It could allow him to bypass the stage and directly enter the Dragon Gate. However, to Feng Zichen, facing the greatness of a sage was very beneficial. Even if it was just a phantom, he did not want to miss it. Moreover, there were not many opportunities to fight with a sage of the same level in the primordial world. Since he would not die, why not give it a try? With that thought in mind, Feng Zichen attacked. Knowing how terrifying his opponent was, he was determined to take the initiative to attack. He took out the Zichen sword and swung it at the ancestral dragon phantom. A resplendent sword beam with the power to split the world swept out. This was the sword art of Zhouxing. It used Zhouxing to derive the Tao of heaven and earth, creating and destroying all things. It was created after Feng Zichen observed Pangu splitting open the sky and combined it with Zhouxing. It represented his achievement in the sword Tao. In the sword beam, the sun, moon, and stars appeared. It derived the Tao of heaven and earth. Wherever it passed, space shattered and all things were destroyed. It was as if the world was about to be reopened. Seeing this sword beam, the originally emotionless ancestral dragon phantom showed a hint of surprise. It was as if it was marveling at the xuanqi of the sword beam. Then it opened its dragon mouth and let out a dragon roar. In an instant, the world fell silent. Everything fell silent. The sword beam shattered and cracks appeared on Feng Zichen's body. However, after the sword beam shattered, it did not disappear. Instead, it turned into sword qi that filled the sky. There were yin-yang sword qi, tripartite sword qi, for symbols sword qi, 5 elements sword qi. They shot towards the ancestral dragon phantom. The ancestral dragon phantom blew gently, and the sword qi that filled the sky disappeared. Then, its figure began to slowly disappear. After the attack, the ancestral dragon phantom had completed its mission. There was no need to stay. After the ancestral dragon phantom disappeared, a stream of innate Yi-Wood origin qi appeared in the void and entered Feng Zichen's body. It instantly healed his injuries. So powerful. We are both in the early stage of Heaven Immortal, but he could seriously injure me with one move. A sage is indeed terrifying. Standing up, Feng Zichen sighed. Feeling the power of a sage, his heart to become stronger was even more determined. At this moment, an excited dragon roar suddenly came from the 8th level of the void. Someone had reached the 8th level of the void. Seeing this, Feng Zichen walked towards the dragon gate. He did not forget that the first person to leap over the dragon gate would be rewarded by the ancestral dragon. After passing all 9 levels, there were no more obstacles in front of the dragon gate. He successfully walked through the dragon gate and arrived at the dragon transformation pool. After crossing the dragon gate, Feng Zichen's bloodline changed. It was boiling, shining, and releasing rays of divine light. Feeling the change in his bloodline, he quickly jumped into the dragon transformation pool. Suddenly, endless qi of creation surged and accelerated the change in his bloodline. First, there was a burst of bright starlight, followed by green, white, and yellow light. The green light was the power of the dragon transformation fruit, the white light was Nua's blood essence, and the yellow light was the living soil of 9 heaven. These bloodline powers that were refined by Feng Zichen were reawakened with the help of the dragon gate. Looking at the messy bloodline in his body, Feng Zichen frowned. Immediately, he activated the star bloodline with all his strength, trying to force out the other 3 bloodlines. Nua's blood essence and the living soil of 9 heaven were rootless trees. Under the pressure of the star bloodline, their powers were quickly forced out and turned into 2 drops of blood essence that floated beside Feng Zichen. Only the azure dragon bloodline produced by the dragon transformation fruit was strengthened by the dragon transformation pool and fought with the star bloodline. This showed on Feng Zichen's body. He turned into the azure dragon body one moment and then into the Taoist body the next, switching back and forth between the 2. After an unknown period of time, the 2 bloodlines gradually reached a balance, turning into the shape of a dragon's head, human body, and dragon tail. It was as if heaven and earth were created. An inexplicable Taoist rhyme was emitted from this body. According to legend, when Pangu was born, 9 changes occurred in one day. He was like a god in the sky and a saint on the earth. The shape of a dragon's head, human body, and dragon tail was one of them. It was the great Tao body. After achieving the Taoist body, Feng Zichen fell into an epiphany. In the school of the Emperor Star, The true spirit shone brightly and produced endless great Tao runes. Chapter 34. Suddenly, the heavenly Tao space appeared in Feng Zichen's sea of consciousness. His true spirit flew out of the school of the Emperor Star, broke through layers of space, and arrived at the 7th level of the heavenly Tao space. He, who was already on the verge of a breakthrough, no longer suppressed his cultivation with the help of the dragon transformation pool. He broke through the 7th level of the heavenly Tao space in one go and advanced to the late-stage heaven immortal realm. In the heavenly Tao space, endless great Tao runes flowed out of his true spirit and imprinted in all directions, forming a great Tao chain in the first 7 levels of the heavenly Tao space. Above it, Hongmeng Qi circulated, and the sun, moon, and stars appeared together, evolving the Tao of heaven and earth. Silently, a purple star appeared above the true spirit's head, drooping down strands of origin Qi and merging into the true spirit's body. In an instant, purple light lingered around the true spirit, giving birth to all kinds of connate runes, emitting a supreme and extremely noble aura. This was the projection of the Emperor Star. It had sensed that Feng Zichen's strength had improved greatly, so it had specially manifested in the heavenly Tao space to help him evolve his true spirit and transform into a connate god-fiend. The god-fiend lineage did not cultivate the essence soul. They only wanted the true spirit to be immortal and indestructible. Compared to the essence soul, the true spirit had more magical uses. It was more compatible with the great Tao, easier to comprehend the Tao, faster to cultivate, and more powerful. However, everything had its pros and cons. The true spirit had so many advantages, but the disadvantages were also very obvious. Before becoming a golden immortal, the true spirit was weak. When fighting with others, the slightest carelessness would cause the true spirit to be damaged and the great Tao to be severed. When Feng Zichen refined his clone, if it wasn't for the Hongmeng Tao seal, which could use the power of the great Tao to split yin and yang and split the true spirit into two, how would he have refined his clone? How would he dare to use half of his true spirit to refine a clone? Wouldn't that be severing his own great Tao? After becoming a golden immortal, the true spirit would be immortal, and there would be no danger of the Tao being severed. Even so, it was still extremely troublesome if the true spirit was damaged. Only Daluo, whose true spirit was immortal and indestructible, could unleash the power of the god-fiend lineage as he wished. After an unknown period of time, Feng Zichen had stabilized his realm and woke up from his meditation. With a flash of purple light, the body of the Great Path was refined by him, and he returned to his human form. The form of a dragon's head, a human's body, and a dragon's tail. Although it was a body of the Great Path and was infinitely mysterious, the human form was also a body of the Great Path. Moreover, it was more suitable for Feng Zichen. The body of the Great Path was neither strong nor weak, only suitable or not. However, although the Azure Dragon bloodline had been refined, it had left behind a divine ability, the 9 Heavens Dragon Roar. It was the supreme divine ability that the ancestral dragon phantom had used in front of the Dragon Gate. The great voice is silent, the great elephant is formless. Everywhere the dragon roar passed, the heavens and the earth went silent while everything fell silent. It silently annihilated everything, and it was a supreme divine ability. Like the Azure Dragon bloodline, the divine ability merged with Feng Zichen's body and turned into an innate divine ability. It saved him a lot of time for cultivation, which was a pleasant surprise. Next, it was time to wait for the ancestral dragon to bestow the reward. Feng Zichen did not have to wait for long. Accompanied by a vast and boundless aura, 12 pearls appeared in the void. They were sparkling and radiating 5-colored light. This is the sea-calming divine pearl. In the primordial world, although there were many pearl-type connate numinous treasures, there were only a few complete sets. Therefore, Feng Zichen recognized its origin at a glance. It was a supreme-grade, connate numinous treasure. It could capture people and objects. It could emit 5-colored light and dazzle the 5 senses of the enemy. When the world was first created, the 4 seas surged and surged endlessly. The primordial world could not calm down. The heavenly Tao took the 36 chaos pearl fragments and formed 36 sea-calming divine pearls. The 5-colored light was dense and suppressed the 4 seas and calmed the primordial world. After that, the 36 sea-calming divine pearls scattered into the 4 seas. 24 of them were obtained by the Tao ancestor, and the remaining 12 disappeared. He did not expect the 12 sea-calming divine pearls to be in the hands of the ancestral dragon. However, the ancestral dragon was the master of the 4 seas. It was reasonable for it to be in his hands. Feng Zichen did not care why the item was in the hands of the ancestral dragon. He took a step forward and placed the 12 sea-calming divine pearls into the chaos pearl for it to devour. Although the 12 sea-calming divine pearls were not supreme-grade, connate numinous treasures, they were still superior-grade, connate numinous treasures. They could allow the chaos pearl to recover quite a bit of its origin. Indeed, after devouring the 12 sea-calming divine pearls, the chaos pearl trembled for a moment and produced 2 more connate divine restrictions. After the 12 sea-calming divine pearls were devoured, 12 balls of connate origin were left behind. Feng Zichen sent them into the Zichen sword. Sparkling divine light flashed. The connate spiritual light on the Zichen sword became even brighter. The 32 acquired divine restrictions flowed in the divine light, as if they wanted to go against the connate. At this rate, when the chaos pearl recovers to a connate cardinal treasure, the Zichen sword will be able to go against the connate and become a connate numinous treasure. Feng Zichen stroked the Zichen sword excitedly. He knew where the remaining 24 sea-calming divine pearls were. After the Tao ancestor became a saint, he placed the treasure on the treasure-snatching rock and was taken away by Taoist Shangqing. Then, after Taoist Shangqing became a saint, he gave the treasure to the outer sect's eldest disciple, Zhao Gongming. Now, the 3 pure ones had yet to become saints. The treasure was still in the hands of Taoist Shangqing. When his clone was born and became his disciple, he might be able to get the item. Feng Zichen did not care about the miserable outcome of the immortals of Jie School during the God-conferment tribulation. The most important thing now was the Magi-Demon tribulation. If he could not survive this tribulation, everything would be over. There was no future to talk about. After surviving this tribulation, the world would be his to roam freely. A mere God-conferment tribulation would be nothing. After putting away the sea-calming divine pearl, Feng Zichen did not leave. Instead, he sat cross-legged and chanted the great Tao incantation, explaining the secrets of the postnatal divine Tao. The Tao is learned from the heart, and the heart is fake. The incense burns in the jade furnace, and the heart is in front of the emperor. The true spirit looks down, and the immortal is in the pavilion. Your servant's message reaches the 9 heavens. Following Feng Zichen's narration, the power of heaven and earth descended. Runes danced in the sky, intertwining in the air to form a mystical scene. A statue of a god stood in the temple. On it, radiance shone brightly, and divine might was awe-inspiring. Around it, green light lingered, forming all the phenomena of the mortal world. Below it, all spirits appeared, burning incense and praying to it, entrusting their beautiful wishes. That was the method of collecting incense and condensing an incarnation. Such a method might be useless to other powerful beings. However, for a sacred beast like the ancestral dragon, it was comparable to a supreme method. Guarding the 4 extremes, one could not leave unless there was a great tribulation of heaven and earth. How was that different from being in prison? Collecting incense and condensing an incarnation. using one's true body to suppress the four extremes, and using an incarnation to walk on the land of the primitive world. That was the method that the four sacred beasts thought of when the postnatal divine Tao rose. Now, Feng Zichen was talking about the postnatal divine Tao in the dragon transformation pool, imparting the method of condensing an incarnation of incense. One could imagine how shocked the four sacred beasts were. In the depths of time and space, in a space completely formed by the great Tao of the five elements, five indescribable consciousnesses gathered together and silently watched Feng Zichen, deducing the feasibility of the incarnation of incense. Now that they met again, the hatred in their hearts had disappeared, and only endless melancholy was left. The more they deduced, the more they felt that this method was magical. It was as if it was tailor-made for them. They couldn't help but laugh. Seeing this, the ancestral dragon nodded and lowered a divine thought into the dragon transformation pool. Chapter 35. What thou hast asked, we grant thee. It was like the soft whisper of the great Tao, but it was also like the rumbling of the myriad Tao. In the end, it landed in Feng Zichen's ears, but it became the most ordinary voice. It was the ancestral dragon's voice. There were no extravagant flowers or golden lotuses. He suddenly appeared in front of Feng Zichen. As soon as he finished speaking, the primordial world trembled. In the unknown void, a vast river flowed endlessly. Countless scenes appeared in the river, deducing the principles of life. However, there were layers of fog above the river, making it difficult to see clearly. This was the river of destiny. In the primordial world, under the Daluo, the fate of all living beings was in it. As the ancestral dragon's voice fell, the originally calm river of fate suddenly changed. In the east, an azure dragon phantom appeared and spat out a green light at the river of destiny. In the west, a white tiger phantom appeared and spat out a white light at the river of destiny. In the south, a vermilion bird phantom appeared and spat out a red light at the river of destiny. In the north, a black tortoise phantom appeared and spat out a black light at the river of destiny. In the sky, a Chilan phantom appeared and spat out a yellow light at the river of destiny. This was the embodiment of the light from providence of the five races. These 5 rays of light were part of the light from providence of the 5 races. Then, a ball of torch fire rose from the river of destiny under the support of the 5-colored light. It transcended and disappeared. This ball of torch fire was the embodiment of the human race's light from providence. With the support of the 5 races' light from providence, it transcended the river of destiny. This meant that the human race had the power of Daluo Jinxian. From then on, in the primordial world, the human race's leader could display the power of Daluo Jinxian with the support of the human race's light from providence. The changes in the river of destiny naturally could not escape the senses of the mighty figures of the primordial world. Immediately, gazes looked over through the heavy fog. However, the 5 elements' sacred beasts worked together and moved extremely quickly. By the time they looked over, the light from providence of the human race had already transcended, and the river of destiny had returned to calm. The mighty figures searched the river of destiny for a moment and did not find anything unusual, so they retreated one after another. Only Her Highness Niwa, who was connected to the destiny of the human race, understood what had happened. In Emperor Nvua's palace, Niwa frowned and pondered for a while. Then, she waved her hand and covered the fortune of the human clan. Therefore, no one could find out the anomaly of the human clan. The fact that the destiny of the human race had transcended from the river of destiny was undoubtedly going to have a huge impact on the human race. In the territory of the human race, the earth veins changed and many spirit springs were formed. Endless connate chi gathered and all kinds of spirit herbs were born. the 5 golden immortals were replenished by their luck. Their true spirits were ethereal and became one with the Tao, stepping into the realm of Tai Jingxian. There were even a few Xian immortals who suddenly fell into a state of enlightenment and stepped into the golden immortal realm. Inside the ancestral hall, the 3 leaders of the human race who were in seclusion suddenly felt a supreme power descend upon them, almost raising them to the level of Daluo. Unfortunately, when the human race's fate was divided into 3 parts, this power was also divided into 3 parts. It could only raise them to the extreme state of Tai, but could not bring them any further. In Zichen's cave, several earth veins gathered and formed 5 mountains, releasing rich connate 5 elements qi. Tens of thousands of postnatal humans took this opportunity to open the divine sea and step into the door of cultivation. For a time, all kinds of miraculous things happened among the human race, causing the strength of the human race to increase greatly. As the number of the human race increased, the East Sea gradually could not meet the needs of the human race. In order to survive, the human race had to go out of the East Sea and develop outward. However, in the untainted land, the shamans and demons were fighting for hegemony, and the ferocious beasts were running rampant. With the current strength of the human race, it was difficult for them to establish a foothold in the untainted land. Therefore, Feng Zichen taught the 5 elements sacred beasts the method of condensing the incense incarnation, asking them to protect the human race and strengthen the strength of the human race. After confirming that the incarnation method could indeed restore their freedom, the 5 elements sacred beasts gladly agreed to his request. Therefore, the scene just now happened. In the dragon transformation pool, after ancestral Gragon finished speaking, he threw a ray of 5-colored light at Feng Zichen. Then he disappeared silently, just like how he came. The 5-colored light fell into Feng Zichen's hand and turned into a 5-colored jade stone. Connate 5 elements origin. When the jade stone was in his hand, Feng Zichen felt the connate 5 elements origin qi rushing towards him. He suddenly realized that this was not a jade stone, but a small ball of connate 5 elements origin qi. This ball of 5 elements origin qi was a supreme treasure to the Tai Jingxian who cultivated the Tao of 5 elements. After refining this item, he only needed to cultivate in seclusion for a few million years to prove his Tao, Daluo. Although Feng Zichen was not a Tai Jingxian, this item was still very useful to him. Back in the Purple Mansion state, he had found the Tao embryos formed by 15 connate god fiends. They were all connate spirit treasure embryos. Feng Zichen had originally planned to bring these connate spirit treasure embryos to Ziwei Mountain and use the chaos energy to mature them. However, plans could not keep up with changes. In the subsequent trip to the 3 Immortal Island, Feng Zichen obtained several top-grade connate spirit treasures. As a result, he looked down on these connate spirit treasure embryos. Then he used the chaos bead to shatter the connate spirit treasure embryos, took their origin, and combined it with the chaos energy to refine them. In the end, the 15 connate spirit treasure embryos were refined into 3 chaos origin qi embryos, which emitted the aura of yin-yang, tritalent, and 5 elements Tao. These 3 chaos origin qi embryos had powerful origins and were dazzling with connate indestructible spirit light. They could all nurture superior grade connate spirit treasures. However, the increase in level meant that the time it took for them to be born was greatly extended. For the tritalent origin qi embryo, Feng Zichen still had the connate tritalent formation, which could help it evolve quickly. However, he did not have the corresponding origins for the yin-yang origin qi embryo and 5 elements origin qi embryo, so there was nothing he could do. Now that he had the connate 5-element origins, as long as he fused them into the 5 elements origin qi embryo, the connate spirit treasure nurtured by it would not only be born in 10,000 years, but its quality would also be improved. Then Feng Zichen fused the connate 5-element origins into the 5 elements origin chi embryo. Rays of 5-colored light were emitted from the origin chi embryo, and countless connate runes flowed on its surface. One could vaguely see a 5-colored ring throbbing in the 5 elements origin chi embryo. Connate 5-element ring. Feng Zichen guessed when he noticed the appearance of the connate spirit treasure within the 5 elements origin chi embryo. After doing all this, he walked towards the exit. Since everything was done, there was no point in staying in the dragon transformation pool anymore. It was time to leave. When he arrived at the exit of the dragon transformation pool, a dazzling dragon path appeared in front of Feng Zichen. The dragon path meandered for 30,000 miles, and there were many jade lotus flowers covering the white jade tiles. This was a path specially prepared for true dragons. Well, those who could come here were those who had made the great leap and transformed into true dragons. This dragon path was prepared for them. He was probably the only one who refused to transform into a true dragon. With that thought, Feng Zichen stepped onto the dragon path. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.